living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again, you gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Oh, roller coaster.
The Buffalo Bills are off until training camp as they wrapped up mandatory minicamp this morning. General Manager Brandon Beane did speak with the media following practice and confirmed that rookie cornerback Max Hairston did tweak his hamstring yesterday, but should be good to go for camp. We'll get more on this morning as Sal Capaccio will join the show at 4. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final between Florida and Edmonton gets going tonight at 8. Florida does hold a 2-1 series lead. Our coverage will start a half hour before that at 7:30, and that coverage is presented by Fiegel Car and Joyce Shore Border Attorneys and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. There are some changes for the Oilers tonight. Jeff Skinner and Troy Steacher go into the lineup, while in net it will be Stuart Skinner. Round 1 of the U.S. Open underway at Oakmont Country Club, just north of Pittsburgh. J.J. Spawn leads the way following a bogey-free round. He sits 4 under after round 1. For more on the U.S. Open, tune into a 2-hour Tee to Green show Saturday morning live from Pendleton Creek Golf Club from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And stay tuned for later today at 6 as Tee to Green host Brian Kosil will join the show. And then it is Throwback Thursday for the Bisons. They host the Clippers just after 6:30, and that game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I don't think that's a very good attitude.
It's Mike Schopp.
You don't think? You don't think? I don't think you should be butting in when I'm talking to my team. You're my assistant, okay? You're supposed to back me up and go get me juice boxes when I tell you. Now go get me a juice box. You know who you're talking to.
It's the Bulldog.
I'm talking to the juice box guy. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm just thirsty. Why don't you go to hell? No, you go to hell. While you're there, Why don't you grab me a juice box? I'm no juice box boy, I'll tell you that. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you
It's
are.
Mike
No, I'm not.
Schopp
Yes, you
and the
are.
Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Let them work it out. All right. The Bills are done for a long time. We have done our best to make, really for your benefit, the mini camps meaningful, interesting, relevant, important even.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that's come across.
That's what we've been doing.
Well, by indulging the whole machine at all, by mentioning them, I think a little bit, yes. Yeah. I think that's actually, we'll take it, right? We'll take
Sure.
short practices and shorts. You know, it's something. It's something. But now we have nothing for a long time. James Cook was still there. That developing story continues to develop in that direction.
Into nothing.
Into nothing. Brandon Beane today said, he sounded like, he said, what's the exact quote? Like, we expect him to be ready to go in Rochester, which I still think means it's kind of like implying that he'll have a new deal by then, but not necessarily. We've spent enough time on that, as long as he's there, right?
Right.
And Sal says, and Sal will join us in an hour, Sal says that Dalton Kincaid had a good day. Have we...
Stock up!
Have we spent enough time on him?
Arrow up! I think... What do you want me to say here? I think yes.
I think yes, but I think more is,
More's coming.
Fair.
Sure.
Do you know who holds the Bills record for a tight end, most catches in a season?
No, no. It's not something I have stored away.
Even though you're wearing a Bills hat, like somebody
even though I am wearing a Bills hat today, I don't. Hang on, let me look inside the brim. No, I don't have.
Oh, what a magic trick!
I don't have a cheat sheet in there.
You take the hat off for a minute for some reason. I go and write the name inside the hat, and you just do that for some reason. You just take, or I get you to take the hat off and look. Boom, there it is.
I
didn't think of it.
The first name that came to mind as the unlikely leader all time in tight end receptions for them. If it's not Dalton Kincaid with the number he had as a rookie, isn't it him?
Yes.
Right, okay. I was going to guess like Jay Reamersma or something, but no, it's Kincaid.
Kincaid is the record holder.
Yeah.
Most catches by a tight end with the Bills. 73.
As a rookie.
And he did it as a rookie. Last year he had 44. He played 3 fewer games. My challenge with him is more one thing than anything else. And that is, I just don't see the path in this lineup, on this team, for him to do better than that. I think, and part of what Sal tweeted about Kincaid today was like red zone. I think that might mean everything when it comes to him.
Mm-hmm.
But with Shakir, the player he is, and Knox still very, I want to say, relevant to their offense, I don't know where that leaves Kincaid. And I want to not just get reflex back to the draft pick itself for this. Those two guys, though, were on the team already. And they were optimistic about Shakir. They didn't know he would be as good maybe as he has turned out to be, but they could have known that. And Knox was already under contract. So I think it still can be, maybe it always will be debated, like the idea of Kincaid as a draft pick. But they've changed, styles pretty significantly since they did that. And I think it just kind of leaves him capped, if not dusted, I want to say. I think to justify what the pick was, he's going to need to be more than he's been. And I just don't really see that happening unless it happens after one of Knox or Shakir are gone. And Shakir's not going anywhere.
Shakir's not going anywhere. Knox, I mean, maybe after this year, that's a conversation worth having. I mean, it might depend a lot on how the year looks. But that would leave you without a starting caliber tight end that is actually a tight end. Like Kincaid has not been, and we'll see. The talk was, when the offseason began, and Beane sort of, I think, scolded himself today in talking about Kincaid's, and maybe he was a little too harsh about talking about his durability concerns and getting stronger to handle the rigors of the league.
He said that today?
He said, I think maybe I don't know the exact quote, but it's basically what I just said.
He said that to Tyler Dunn.
Okay.
Whenever the week of the draft, he said the same thing.
Oh, okay.
He said he wished he had reworded, that.
Yeah. Well, he reiterated that today. Then, but the point is, depending on how much transformation there can be from one off season to the next, in Kincaid becoming more of a blocker, maybe that is a pathway for him to be on the field more and being used in 2 tight end sets if they can sell the idea of him as a blocker and then spring him as a receiver. Like that's I think that was the idea behind the draft pick in the first place. But the problem was nobody really, I think, has taken him seriously as a blocker. Like he's there, you're expecting him to run a pattern and catch the ball. Perhaps anyway. It's not like he's some target hog like you're saying already. But
I think he might have been. We have Scott Barrett tomorrow. Scott will know this. I think he might have been second in the league among tight ends in targets per route run.
Yes, he rated very highly in that metric.
Okay, so when he is running routes, he gets the ball enough. It's not like the Bills are not in that one way.
Right.
When he is running a route down the field, he gets the ball.
When they use him, him.
More than his share of times.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean by use.
He didn't catch many of those, enough of those passes.
Right. But. The off target was a big problem. At least 10 air yards or more was really tough, the success rate on that. But anyway, I'm just saying, if they wanted to move on from Knox, they would need a starting caliber tight end unless Kincaid can become that or prove to them that he can be reliable in that way. So I don't know where that is going to leave you. I do think you hit on it right at the start there, talking about Sal commenting about the touchdowns in the red zone. Because I think it does. It's only 2 years, and there were injuries last year. And this point about him getting targets, getting the ball thrown to him when he runs routes, is important. But even with all that you could, I think, interpret as trending positively, I don't think you're going to get to, some number of catches that makes you go, wow, look at that. It's got to be touchdowns. 60 catches, but 8 touchdowns. Okay. I think I've got something here. But 2 touchdowns a year with your usage being kind of hard to really bank on, I think is a tough way to go. So it's got to be red zone, I think. And maybe it can be. But yeah, I'm not optimistic about them finding. I mean, if the mantra is going to continue to be everybody eats, then they're not of the mind to be featuring someone. And so I doubt that they're going to do that with him. And so where does that leave you? I think it leaves you wondering about what it's all worth, really.
Well, the thing about this is tricky because ultimately it becomes like an analysis of him. In a year, it's a question of the 5th-year option, right? After his 3rd year in the league, then we'll have that conversation about whether he's worth keeping even for the one more year, let alone like an extension. I mean, that could happen too. There'll be that conversation. And when I think you sit down to assess his value, well, so far I'm not getting really the, quote, seam stretcher. I'm not getting really anybody that can really hold up in line. I'm not getting touchdowns. What am I really getting? I think the touchdown part, the first part, I don't want to completely just absolve Kincaid of any responsibility in his own performance. I mean, I would never want to do that. But the seam stretcher part is so limited by what their offense is. I mean, they've run the ball more. Shakir exists. They really just haven't. They frankly didn't need that last year. If you want to point to the last play of the season, you could. That was a tough play, I think, but still, that was down the field to him, and he didn't catch it. So I think you have. Let's say this is in a courtroom, and you're Kincaid. Look, I can't be the player I was drafted to be, or I think is maybe my strength because of the offense I'm in, and the players around me. And also, I think the touchdown piece is really tough because the Bills just do not need pass catchers in the red zone, in the end zone. Like, they just have not. Allen's just going to do it.
They're so good at getting in there other ways. Yeah, Cook and Allen, right.
He's just going to do it. So why do they need anybody to become like a red zone target exactly? Maybe Mark Andrews was more that even like a few years ago for Lamar Jackson. There are maybe better examples.
Well, the red zone is bigger. Like, goal to go is certainly a running back or a quarterback, running the ball. And not that they don't run it in the red zone, but where I think you're looking, when I see, I'm thinking like, 3rd and goal at the 9 or, 1st and 10 at the 19. Like, those are plays that, that is the red zone, and you should, be able to count on a matchup there on, whatever. If it's a safety, it's a size problem. If it's a linebacker, it's a speed problem. Get that going. That's where I think it has to come. Like, you get close to the goal line, and I'm just not expecting that to be, I'm not expecting him to get, like, short touchdown receptions. Short, in finger quotes.
Well, right. Like that.
5 yards and under. But
that hasn't happened yet. He doesn't have a touchdown catch of 5 yards or less in his career. He has one of 6. That was the Jacksonville Monday night game, and that's a broken play. And Allen is rolling to the right, makes a typical amazing Allen athletic play, and Kincaid makes a good catch, even maybe a very good catch at the back of the end zone there. He's got a 6-yard, I'm not going in chronological order, he's got a 6-yard touchdown catch. He's got a 12-yard touchdown catch in Seattle. His rookie year, he had 2 touchdown receptions, each of 22 yards. In night games, by the way. He seems to be better in night games by this Bulldog.
Okay.
Jacksonville, Tampa, Denver.
Give me more night games.
You got plenty of night games.
He also had maybe the play you're looking for the most to be like the blueprint for him in that Pittsburgh playoff game.
Right, and that's 29.
Right.
So, like, you're getting those. You've gotten a few of those. You got a few of those from all kinds of different tight ends over the years, though, right? Like,
right.
Most teams are going to give you a few plays like that over the season, and then you end up, if you choose to, back at the pick in the first place. And really, that doesn't really help much. What that, if anything, is good for is the decision in the end about what to do with them because of money, first round pick.
Yeah,
and his value.
The time to judge that is when they decide on the 5th-year option. And or a contract extension, or say no to all of that. Then whoa, what were we doing here exactly?
What are the odds right now of what'll happen? Boy. I think right now I would bet that he does get the 5th year.
Yeah,
because I think it would have to go worse than it's gone for him to not. I think if they're the same team, even if they win. Like, if they're a top team again next offseason and he gives them what he gives them, has been giving them, I think they would do it.
I think if it's like last year and there's injuries again after an offseason that began, as much as Beane wanted to run away from it, a week after or even today, the point about his durability is still a strong one. It tells you the organization at least is expecting some effort and obviously some kind of transformation if you are gonna be a featured player here. So if he has problems with his legs again, this or anything else for that matter, I think that might weigh as heavily against a long-term future as anything. As much as you can, like it's year 2, and you go, well, tough break with the injuries. Hopefully, you can stay healthy because you did have at least a good rookie year with lot of catches, still not a lot of touchdowns, but you came through it. I think he had reason to be optimistic about him at this time last year to build on what happened in his rookie year. But if you have an uneven year and there's health problems. That would be a big thing to me about about taking the 5th-year option because I think you'd have reason to be worried, especially if it's a reoccurrence of whatever the name of that thing you found out about the knee was. I forget what it's called now.
Morel Lavalley lesion.
Okay,
that might be close. I just think of a lava lamp because Pat Corrine pointed this out on ADP chasing, and he mentioned he's got a lava lamp in his knee, and then one of our producers made a graphic out of it, and so I feel like it's a lava lamp.
Okay.
But I know it isn't a lava lamp.
Right.
Which, by the way, those are young guys, and like they all, oh yeah, sure, we love lava lamps.
Kind of kitschy.
Are lava lamps back?
I don't know. We thought it was pretty cool. Like the first apartment I ever had, someone brought one in, and wow, this is cool. This is like, we're the mod squad or something. I don't know what the hell we were thinking. We were 20 and drinking 18 packs of whatever beer was $3.99. But yeah, I don't know that they ever went out.
Okay, they've hung on.
Yeah,
to cultural relevance. Just like Kincaid is, kind of doing, even though it's only 2 years versus like 50. Well, he's an interesting one. They all are. I mean, pick your favorite. On any given day, we're talking about one of them. Morning today, it was Coleman. Like, what's a good year for Coleman? What's a good year for Kincaid? Is the rookie year a good year for Kincaid? That was 73 for 673 and 2. On 91 targets. Is that good?
Very high. That catch rate, it's very hard for me to not at least say it was good. But I don't think I want to go much. I don't think I want a very in there. And I don't know that I even want a great. It was good. Okay. It
was fine.
Like I said a few minutes ago, I would sacrifice, 10 of those catches for more touchdowns. I would think the Bills would too. Although, they might tell you it doesn't matter who scores, as long as the offense, scores their points.
They did score like 60 touchdowns, right? I mean, it's going to be tough to do better than that.
Yeah.
And who is he taking them from?
Right.
Amari Cooper didn't score touchdowns. Mac Hollins had 5. If Kincaid goes to, what do you want, 6 or 7?
You're taking him from some combination of Cook and Allen.
Allen and Cook, right, from rushing touchdowns. Yep. And it's really like, forget the draft status, forget the 50-year option, forget everything. Is that worth even bothering to try to do? What's the play? You want 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 6, whatever. Like what would be traditionally almost always a passing down.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want the Bills to do on that play?
Find the guy that's automatic and go to him. And I don't know who that is.
Allen runs for 4, and then he runs it in on 4th and 2, I think is what I would recommend. Because they have not been, I don't want to say like this is an Allen problem, but they just have not been really ever. I mean, was Diggs this? Was he an exception to this? Where I guess I want to see numbers like Allen versus the league on,
red zone touchdowns.
Passes to the end zone. I think I would want.
Yeah.
From inside the 10 or just passes to the end zone in general. Is he above league average? Completion percentage. I don't know.
And even attempts.
Number of attempts.
I'd be curious about attempts, period, because of how effective, at least the last year and a half, they've been running the ball so well.
Who is the only Bills tight end ever to have at least 3 seasons that rank in the top 10 in receptions for a Bills tight end? Who's the only name on here 3 times in the top 10?
I'm going back to the Jay Reimers well. No, it's not him.
It's not him. I don't think that's a bad guess.
Ruben Gant?
It's not Ruben Gant. It can't be Kincaid because he's had 2 years.
Right. Scott Chandler.
It is Charles Clay.
Oh, a player that I absolutely 100% completely forget every time was on the Bills when we talk about Bills tight ends. I just never think to say his name.
I think that is a good topic, but what would it sound like? Who's a player you never remember?
Yeah, that's tough. Nobody's calling.
I can't remember him. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really can't tell you.
Yeah. I think he wore a number.
I think he was out of the Big 12.
Yeah, right. seemingly. You're going to give us clues and ask us to help you identify this player you
guys,
can't remember.
Hey, how's it going, guys? There's a guy. Remember this guy, that one guy?
Yeah.
Who, there was the one play.
I think it was against Washington.
I think it was against.
Yeah.
I was there. I know I was at the game.
Right.
Yeah, that would be tough.
I think it was either last year or Allen's rookie year. I can't remember which. Okay, yeah, we're out. Thanks.
I am never able to remember all the receivers at one time. Yesterday it was Palmer. I forgot.
Right.
Other times it's usually Samuel. If it's anybody, it's going to be Samuel. So I forget about him. And I don't know. Like, I'm not going to forget about Elijah Moore for a while. That has my attention.
Mm-hmm.
I think Palmer included, Samuel included for sure. All these receiver signings, Coleman as a draft pick, even maybe Kincaid, all these guys that they've brought in have just left a little bit too much to be desired. The chorus when talking about them it's fragmented, it's fractured. Like, it's not, you have people that like, no, I don't think so. Where's the evidence? What kind of role is he going to have? Like, that was a Coleman thing. Are they going to use him maybe the best way possible? Kincaid, and et cetera, et cetera. I feel like with Moore, there's enough to bet on with him as long as he gets a real shot. And that's up to the Bills to, make a call on. Like, because he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to be more than other receivers they've just tried out, basically. But I guess he's got to show. The minicamp's over. He had some chance to show at minicamp, then into training camp and probably the preseason, that he really is somebody that just has not had the right opportunity yet. And if that's it, then that could be a huge find. But I don't know if the Bills really are thinking of him that way. When I ask people about the pecking order, he gets mentioned, but it's not like he has to be at or near the top of the list. So he's another one to have fun pondering, Elijah Moore. 803-0550 for your calls. Yesterday we had a few different Bills things. I'm not sure anybody called in, but we had the point about being favored in every game and just like the magnitude of that. I've got the spreads of every game this year in front of me, and I still want to be able to like really dig in on those and eventually be able to bet on those based on what I think might change between now and when the game is. So that'll be fun for some of us. Also, the topic about expectations that we spent some time on in the 5 o'clock hour yesterday, just trying to live with, it's not a bad thing, but a team that really the only kind of season we really need anymore is a championship. And
it's a tough way to live.
It's just that's a lot to ask, obviously. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Sal at 4, Brian Kosil later on the U.S. Open. This is WGR.
It's on record here in this area.
Mold season is here. Doesn't take much.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
So he's a pro. He's a competitive dude. He loves to win. Yeah, of course he wants to take care of himself. Everyone does, and we love to see that, and we love to see it here as many times as we can. We know we have to fit things within the cap and the cash structure and all those things. It's great to see him. Monday, when I first saw him here, came in for physicals and our goal meetings and stuff. Chatted with him a couple times. But, no, it's good to see him, and he looks good out there. You can tell he's been working.
Brandon Beane on James Cook. Minicamp is over. Won't see the Bills again for more than a month. After that, though, you won't be able to avoid them.
So. No, and then the games will start, and that'll be so annoying. Just be one every week, and we always be talking about them. It's just so tedious.
Yes. Between now and then, do what you want with the Bills.
Right.
Detach or double down. We've had a lot of fun, I think, the last few weeks talking about all kinds of different things about them. Particular players like Cook, here Dalton, Kincaid already today. The perspective on the season, what the betting markets are saying, their chances, expectations, all kinds of things. And we'll surely do more of that here in the coming weeks, while mixing in other pithy takes. There's hockey tonight, right?
Yes, finally. They're back at it. It's been, when did they played game 2 Friday, so there's been one game since last Friday.
Right. And it wasn't close.
Good job. Way to keep after it.
Let's go to CJ. Hi, CJ.
Hey, guys. I know you guys were talking on Kincaid not too long ago, and I just wanted to say I'm not worried about Kincaid. I know we always talk about the players, but with the Bills and seeing how the system was last year for the players and us not having the receivers we needed, I think Kincaid was a product of his environment, meaning the receivers not being so well to get them open and nobody taking a safety off the top. Like, yes, you have to stop our run game and stop Josh Allen from running, but what speed elements do you have to open up his play style? And even Joe Brady, when speaking, said he puts onus on how he utilizes players when he was talking about Elijah Moore. And I also put the utilization on our offensive coordinator, just like we had to figure out how to use Shakir. We changed our OC, and now you find out, okay, he's more of a screen. He's like Pacheco at wide receiver. He's breaking tackles all the time. And that's how I see us using our tight end in a different manner, so to speak. Let's find a different way to use him. What are your strong points? Don't just use you as a regular tight end. You're not a regular tight end. I don't want to be like Atlanta, still trying to figure out how to use Kyle Pitts.
What are his strong points?
If you ask me, his strong points are it's matchups. How do you force a matchup? But like I said, we didn't have the speed last year to force that matchup. So now I believe we can force a matchup that's favorable for our tight end now.
Well, that's
the way I see it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, but then I don't need anybody special. Like if Kyle Shanahan can get anybody open, right? Like there's McVay, one of these coaches that it almost, can I say at least almost, doesn't matter who it is, but that offense, it's just like there's always this wide open space. And that is not the Bills. And the Bills don't have, at some point the question becomes, well, how do they do it then? But the Bills don't have the separators, and they don't have the scheme where guys are, this is what you want for Kincaid, right? Yep. CJ, like you want other players to make it easier for him to produce, but really don't have that. And what on his own are his strengths that can afford him that without the perfect scheme.
I think the speed part, I think, is a solid point and one worth making, and that is one way to threaten the defense. But just being able to separate, beat man coverage, require help is something. So Palmer is Palmer, and maybe you can get to Moore here, although Samuel didn't really get I don't think we got the full Samuel last year, because the speed element, you're going to need your feet for that, and his feet were messed up, and I just don't think he was really himself until maybe later in the year. But can they find a way? Does Palmer being here and being one of the best separators in the league last year, top 10 in that metric, does that, and with a downfield piece attached to that, does that open that up? Or does some combination of Samuel and Palmer, and maybe this is where Elijah Moore might come in, route running and speed, like maybe there's just more of a threat. I think when the Bills pivoted in October to we got to go get Amari Cooper, it was because they were getting smothered. Teams were not respecting their receivers. They didn't have to devote special attention to really anyone, including Kincaid. And so you're just sort of stuck with I can put a hat on a hat and go play the feud, and that's a tough way to live in the NFL. The problem becomes, to me, how much are you going to lean into creating that by design for Kincaid? Like he's got to prove that he can win his matchup, and I think I think he's athletic enough. In theory, when you draft that player, I already said it. You're too big and physical for a DB, and you're too quick for a linebacker. So that's my edge. But you got to prove that you're worth that attention and that you're going to run these guys out there to run coverage away so that it opens up for you. The payoff's got to be worth it. And I just don't know that the Bills are of the mind at this point to feel that that's been proven yet. So,
or to bother trying to configure their offense
to establish it. But there are new pieces there, and maybe that's like the new wrinkle that comes this year or something. I don't know. It's part of the problem to me with the theory of again, it worked. So I don't know how much you only have so much. I think you're only allowed to have so much of a problem with the concept. But everybody eats, almost by definition, tells you everyone's going to get their turns. And I don't know, like that's hardly the way pro sports ever works. Like usually the best guy is going to be the one that you're going to draw everything up for. We know this guy can win for us, so let's make sure we give him all the help we need. Quarterback trusts him, he runs good routes, he knows the offense, like all the things all the boxes need to be checked. And if you're running an offense that is predicated on everybody sort of getting their turn, I just don't know how much of that you're actually going to see. I don't want to say regardless of how well the player performs, because I think at some point, they would recognize, like, okay, this is working. We need to find ways to do more of that. But I just don't know in their passing game what that is right now.
Ron is next. Hello, Ron.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm thinking I'd like Kincaid used more in the red zone, basically so Allen doesn't have to keep taking these 2-3 yards, 1 yard leap into the end zone type thing. And, KC figured out a way to stop Allen because Allen always seems to go to the left side. He never changed in the playoffs, and that cost us the first down or two. But still, as he's getting older, I don't want him to keep taking these beatings and stuff, because eventually, it might cost him. And I think, getting these players the short routes into the end zone and using Kincaid, would be great. And remember when he was drafted, and I don't know if it was a rumor or if it was true, Allen was super excited that we drafted him. Like, he was really, excited we drafted him. Like, that was his guy he wanted. But then he doesn't really seem to have been that way since he's been on the team. So that's just why I'd like to see him used more, so Allen doesn't have to take such a beating anymore.
Yeah. Well, there is that. One of these days, that will have to be scaled back, I think. But I don't think the Bills, they've already sort of a little bit more than a half measure to rein Allen in a couple of years ago. Then they were 6-6, and they changed offensive coordinators, and then he ran constantly. We need to win games. I think it's been so clear what the value of his running is to their chances of winning, that I bet they're not too interested, they're not too worried about containing him, self-containing him, while they still have a chance to win a championship. What happened 2 years ago was, let's just sort of, when we need it most, and that just happened to be like in November.
Yeah, didn't Beane even at one point, or McDermott, I think it was Beane before a season, October, whatever, early in the year, or was that us? Did I just say that so much that I think one of them said it? I feel like he made a point about that.
I think he said week 2 once.
Yeah, okay.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I ran with that because I feel like it's an instinct point that Allen just, I'm going to get this first down, and these are my best odds.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong. They went to Washington week 3 2 years ago, when this was really top of mind, and he slid in that. They won the game 38-3 or something. Remember Ron Rivera kicking a field goal with a minute left, 37-3 was something like that to avoid the shutout. Congrats on that. So he slid at one point in that game, and he made a joke after the game about winning a bet because, people didn't think he would slide. So that was a focal point 2 years ago. I don't know if it was last year. I just don't think it will be much of one until they can find, if this even exists, better ways to get first downs and touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that exists.
Yeah.
Or, he starts to get old. And then
that, I think, it happens sort of naturally. I think is probably where we end up. Yeah, I would imagine they'll get the question because we got more than a month here before we see them again, and training camp is long, and there's only so many storylines. So him running, him being protected, does him winning the MVP, obviously his value to the team, does that, set? Are there any alarm bells? And at this point, I feel like McDermott mostly, I don't want to say he jokes about it, but there is a I wish he'd slide. We should get out of bounds. But they're just living with it. They're just, because they I think, recognize the value and have not, like you just said, found something else to replace it with. So I think they're just, okay, I sure hope nothing goes wrong. And that's it. And I think that's going to continue until he shows some sign of needing to slow down or like he's physically slowing down because he's aging. He gets to be 32 or whatever, some age, and it's just not as effective. Sadly, an injury could impact that timeline. Hope it doesn't come, but, it is football. So, but I don't expect them to. I think they'll get the question, and I just don't expect them to ever sound like they want them to stop. At least not right now. Not going into this year. I think maybe they win one, and that's a signpost where, okay, let's pull back on. Let's try to extend this as long as we can, and maybe we pull the reins in a little bit on that. But it's still, so much of it is in Allen's control while he's playing. That's why I say it almost has to happen naturally. Like, he has to realize, I can't beat that guy to the edge anymore. So I'm going to stop trying to do that. I'll try to extend plays as best I can, but me, hurdling linebackers, at some point that's going to be unrealistic. And I doubt that his running curtails much until then.
Yeah, I guess I agree. I think that there's also the point that we've made for years predating Allen even being here, that, the point about quarterback injuries and how they happen. Mm-hmm. And he can run all he wants, but if he's going down, he's, avoiding big hits, which he's, mostly able to do, not always, then all the better. And just simply running is not going to get him hurt.
Right.
You think about, Lamar Jackson is always in the conversation when it comes to running quarterbacks. He never gets popped. He has a way of just, doing everything he can do as a runner. He also doesn't run in the red zone like Allen does. He doesn't have anywhere near the touchdowns that Allen does. And that's a lot of where that physical contact is going to happen. I got to get to the line. But Jackson's able to, never really take a big hit. And I think of Allen getting hit, he's in the pocket in my mind's eye. It's, games against Kansas City or anybody that things converge on him. He's better than anybody in the league at getting out of that.
Yeah.
Too, avoiding the sack there. But, you see maybe once a game or so where he takes a pretty good shot in the pocket, and that's pretty hard to avoid.
Maybe the scariest looking shot that comes to mind when I think about him taking hits is the hit in Baltimore last year. He's rolled out to his
turnover?
left. Yeah, he's out to his left, and he just gets smashed on that play.
There was a play in the COVID year against the Chargers. I don't remember if he got really hit, but it looked like he was injured. There was a play in that year where I don't know if he was grabbing his knee or what. He was down for a minute in that. And that was maybe one of the only moments with him. He's just been able to bounce back up, for years in a row. Really amazing. Sal will join us at 4. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. Well, I'm not sure it's war. I'm not sure it's intentional, but it finally happened today. This mic stand, all I had to do today was touch it, and it fell apart. Yeah. It's often like right on the brink of disassemblage. Today, I just sort of, maybe somebody is now like sort of on the case, me with the chairs, getting it just to that last turn where if I touch it at all, it's just going to break. It's a Jenga game happening with this thing. Intentionally or not, it's a Jenga game. It took me a while to rebuild it, too.
This all happened before I got here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it didn't take me that long.
A while. Yeah, I mean, wow.
A few minutes.
I would be surprised if it's a bit. I told you. You did watch the video clips of their show. You watch a 2-minute clip of their show, and Jeremy touches that thing 8 times. It's like
Can he turn it the other way once of those times?
I don't know.
Those times?
He's out on the boat and he's in an inner tube off the boat, and there's a rope, and that is his rope. He just keeps fiddling with it.
Well,
I'm glad it's functional. Mine's steady as she goes. I don't think Joe ever touches this thing.
No, I don't need to be touching it, but I have to make sure it doesn't fall apart.
Right.
For that reason, I do need to be touching it.
Yeah.
U.S. Open, J.J. Spawn is the leader, -4, no bogeys. I came to really like this player at the Players when I was sick, and I watched like the whole weekend. And he lost in a playoff to McIlroy, but I thought he was like really, really tough, and was excited to watch him today. Today, he just made everything. Like, he was not always in the perfect spot, but he made everything. No bogeys. Listening in the car to the PGA Tour radio station today, I don't know the guy's full name. His first name is Fred. One of the announcers named Fred, like your dog. His name is Fred, and he introed a segment saying something like, J.J. Spawn, 4 under in the lead at the U.S. Open. Who had that on their bingo card? Guy's 25th in the world. He's been top 6, I believe, 4 times this year. This is not the dentist from Pittsburgh leading the U.S. Open, all right? So watch it, Fred.
All right.
Watch it, Fred. You might have actually been able to predict that this guy would play well.
This guy's got a fan right here in you.
He has a fan in me, and he's good.
Yeah.
He hasn't won a major. This is only his second appearance in the Open. Pretty good start.
Yeah, it's the first time he didn't have to play his way into it. The other times he had to qualify. This time his career's going well enough that he made it on merit.
Yeah. So that would have been a big pick by Brian. It's, of course, only the first round. Brian made some bold picks, 3 or 4 players that were way down in the odds. His best hope right now would be, Scheffler. Scheffler is still the betting favorite, even though he's 4 or 5 back. But Sam Burns is on Team Brian. Or Brian is on Team Sam Burns, -2 through 8. The only player of Brian's 10 that's under par so far. So we're all rooting for that, right?
Yep.
Scheffler, though, I asked you a few minutes ago, when he was 6 off the lead, if he's the betting favorite, he was by a lot.
Yeah.
Spawn is second, way back.
Yeah, like Scheffler was plus 350 and Spawn was 1,200 maybe.
Yeah.
With the lead.
With 6 ahead of him.
Yeah.
So that's how you know.
Maybe it was 5. I think it was 5 by the time I looked. He made a putt just as I went to look. So, but either way, it says a lot.
You know it's early.
Yeah.
We will get back to the Bills. The last day of minicamp today. Sal Capaccio was there. He'll join us next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The Buffalo Bills are now off until training camp. They wrapped up mandatory minicamp this morning. We did hear from general manager Brandon Beane as he spoke with the media following practice and did confirm rookie cornerback Max Hairston tweaked his hamstring, but should be good to go for camp. We'll get more on today. Sal Capaccio, he joins the show next. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final between Florida and Edmonton gets going tonight at 8 down in Florida. Our coverage is going to start at 7:30. And coverage is presented by Figo Car and Joy Shore Border Attorneys and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. Some changes for the Oilers. Jeff Skinner and Troy Stecher go into the lineup, while in net it'll be Stuart Skinner. Round 1 of the U.S. Open, it is underway at Oakmont Country Club. J.J. Spawn does lead the way. He had a bogey-free round, sits 4 under. And for more on the U.S. Open, do tune into a 2-hour Tee to Green show Saturday morning live from Pendleton Creek Golf Club from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And do stay tuned later on tonight at 6 p.m. Tee to Green host Brian Kosil will join the show. And it is Throwback Thursday for the Bisons. They host the Clippers just after 6:30, and you can listen to that game on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
The Bills wrap up mandatory minicamp. Now what will we do for the next 5 weeks or so, maybe 6? Sal Capaccio is a question for him. I mean, he's out there every time they let him. Sal Capaccio with us on the West Her hotline. How does it go at the end of this minicamp season, if you will, Sal? Like, do the players, I'm pretty sure they don't, but I want to think that maybe the players just like sprint off the field?
Oh, you get that a bit, like sometimes.
Good.
I don't think that I don't remember that today, like in any circumstance. But I mean, I remember I was out in the parking lot today, the media parking lot, doing a couple things, and I saw guys leaving. You know, I mean, they were ready to go. They were getting out of there, and yeah, you guys just they leave. No, I don't think anybody like sprinted off and oh my god, I gotta get out of here kind of thing. But, you know, it's the same thing with training camp, to be honest with you. The last day is the last day, and they can't wait to go home and, you know, sleep in their own beds. Now, in this case, they're here in Buffalo, but they're done, and they want to get their, you know, their summers going here and whatever things they're doing for the next, and it actually is, guys, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks plus, not quite 6 weeks, 5.5 weeks from now. They'll report to training camp, St. John Fisher. So, yeah, and then the one thing that is different today, they always break up in a huddle, but like Sean McDermott had a talk, you know, with the team and addressed them in their team huddle for a few minutes before they actually, I posted a little bit of video of it at the end. And that's just to kind of give them the final instructions on what he expects from them and what they need to know about before they leave and get ready to come back.
Take care of yourselves. Be smart. Don't embarrass yourselves. Don't embarrass the organization. I don't know that you would use those words, but that's usually the message, right? Yeah. Right.
A few books to read, maybe some summer reading, like like the kids get, maybe. Mm-hmm. Well, what was notable today? I guess let's start with the GM, Brandon Beane, speaking earlier. He talked about James Cook, I know. What were a couple of the more notable comments from Beane?
So it's interesting on James Cook because the messaging did not change on anything he said about James. You know, that they love Jimbo and, you know, they want him here and they're confident he'll be here. And he reiterated that anything that he kind of knows about, he expects him to be there. You know, there's nothing that doesn't tell him that. But he kind of threw the words with or without a new contract. And that was a little...
Yep.
I thought that was interesting to say that, right? Like,
I thought
I'm
that was very
not
notable.
The guy who reads into things, right? Like, I normally don't do that. I like to like put things in, but I want to read into that a little bit and say, is there something going on that we're unaware of? Because the last time we heard the GM talk about it in any context really was, okay, like, we're past that. We're going to revisit that at the end of the year, maybe, and next season. He actually said with or without a new contract. And when he was asked about there possibly being any talks about a contract, he did what he normally does, which is like, we don't negotiate through the media. But, and I'm not going to talk about that. I don't talk about contracts in the media or publicly. I just want to note that I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that if he hadn't said it that way, that I would want to assume that definitely means there isn't going to be a negotiation and that there won't be a new contract. But the fact that he said it sort of it opens the door, at least, like you're saying here. When he last addressed it, it just sounded like, yeah, that's for another time. Well, the other time maybe was today. Because I think it is. I have not been thinking that they would get something done. And today sort of cracked that for me. Again, you can overreact to that positively, too. And, they're probably going to get something done. Maybe everyone's just playing nice because Cook came in, so Beane doesn't want to sound standoffish about it because the guy did not have to be here. But he was, and he did the work and whatever, and says he'll be at camp. So I think the least you want to do publicly, if you're Beane, is at least sound open to the idea of making the guy happy. It doesn't mean you're gonna necessarily, but let's not be just so stonewalled about it.
I agree. It seemed to me when James talked the other day that he also kind of left the door open that anything could happen here, right? It's not done that I don't get something done here, and I'll be at training camp, and we'll see where things go. So we'll see. I mean, typically, I don't think if something were to happen, to me, it would almost be like right at camp, the start of camp. That's because it's good PR. It's good to put the guy out there to have the GM talk. It could get done in the off season when you're not there, but typically you want to get those things done, ironed out, buttoned up, and you can put people in front of people, and then he's there, he can sign everything. So we'll see where that goes. As far as anything else from Brandon Beane, you guys talked earlier. I heard about he kind of made sure that he reiterated that maybe he was a little too critical of Dalton Kincaid when he spoke about him at the end of the season. Today was a very good day for Dalton Kincaid, as I'm sure you saw me and other people tweeting about. I thought that he had a really strong day today. I think he's kind of been ascending here through the OTAs and minicamp. But today was the crescendo at the top. The last day, and they were doing a lot of 7-on-7 red zone work, goal line work, making catches. And again, I've always said, you guys know it's an advantage to the offense in these situations. But right. That being said, you still have to make plays, and I thought that he did a really good job making some catches. So the other thing, very notable, so everybody knows, not to bury the lead, Max Harrison practiced today. Max Harrison didn't practice today, but he was on the field with his teammates on the sideline. He came out late, and Brandon Beane confirmed after practice it was a hamstring tweak. He should be ready to go for training camp. He will be ready to go. They aren't concerned about that. And he said every other player who sat out with any ailment should be ready to go for training camp.
I want to ask one follow-up on Cook, knowing that we've talked so much about him as it is. But, I mean, Sal, do you agree with me that Beane should really want to get a deal done with him and not let it, linger into the training camp, into the season, and just kind of see what happens? Am I giving Cook too little credit by this? I mean, the fact that he did come in this week is something. I would just think, this is what you do. Whether it's a player or a coach, if you like him, you don't have to, kill your salary cap. You don't have to reinvent the salary cap structure for a running back. But you can find, assuming Cook would take it, I'm not saying that's a given, but I think the Bills should be able to find a happy medium with him, and I think they should want to.
Yeah, this is such a nuanced conversation, right, Mike? Which is the question, should the Bills want to? Yes. Do they want to? I believe wholeheartedly they do. The question is simply about value. That's really a sticking point. It's not that they don't want to sign him. I think Brandon Beane wants to sign him. I think his own words prove that when he said, hey, we talked, realized we weren't going to get anything done with him, so we pivoted to other players, and that's why we signed these other guys. You see the social media behavior and things that are put out there about the certain numbers and 15 million and his brother tweeting about 20 million. And if that's the case, I just think the Bills aren't interested in going that high. Is there a happy middle ground somewhere to be found? Probably there is. But this just comes down to what the Buffalo Bills feel he's worth, what James Cook feels he's worth. I don't think it has anything to do with the player himself wanting him here, not wanting him here, wanting to sign him. And then you just have to figure out, are you willing to go a little bit above of what you kind of originally did to kind of steer away from all this other stuff that's going on? Or on James Cook's side, is he willing to go a little below what he thought to stay away from all this other stuff going on?
Yeah, that's just it. We don't know what that gap is. Right? I mean, we know what Cook has said, 15, and I think it is informative and useful to mention the brother pushing it to 20. I don't know if the 15 is still that number, because that was before Henry, I think, got his new extension, and Barkley too. Because that was early in the offseason. So maybe a lot has even happened since then that could impact this. Yeah, it really depends to me on, does Cook want. Of course, he's going to get a lot of money and a lot of money guaranteed, and that would be really nice. But is it enough to get him to, quote unquote, I guess, settle for it, right? Like if he wants 15 or more, and the Bills are like at 10, like I don't know, is that really going to get there? And that's not even getting into breaking down what the guaranteed money is and all that, because that's really the nuts of it, right? How much are you going to put in my pocket that I'm definitely going to get no matter what happens here, is a big piece of this. And I don't know. Like I would understand, of course, wanting to get a deal done, but I think within reason, you have to sort of stick to what you believe in. And so, I don't know. I even with everything we've talked about today, how Beane sounded, kind of cracking the door open, it really, to me, is up to Cook. I don't think the Bills will move that much, is my guess. And it's a question of whether Cook wants to take, like, bird in the hand. I can get this much guaranteed now, or bet on myself, go through the year, hope I make it out with my legs intact and everything else intact, and then I can either talk to these people again and see if they want to get closer to my number, or I can hit the market and find out if somebody else wants to.
Yeah, that's right. And listen, nobody knows what is most important to certain players when these things come up, too, which what I mean by that is, does James Cook simply want the most AAV, annual average? Does he want to be the guaranteed money is always a big deal, right? That's what it generally comes down to. Is it give him the most, guaranteed you can find, and then if the annual average, is less than that, that's fine. You never know with that. So when I hear $15 million a year, let's just say that's the number. I kind of think sometimes there's a way to get there even without actually giving him $15 million a year, right? It might sound like that, but it's not actually that. You can do that. And that's where funny money comes in. That's where void years come in. That's where, for salary cap purposes, that's where guaranteed signing, all those kinds of things come in. I don't know what is most important to James Cook in this situation or anybody else. If it's just the annual average value, then yeah, the only three players who make that are Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and Saquon Barkley. That's it. Maybe he just wants to really be paid up front and say, you know what, I'm a smaller running back. And, he alluded the other day he doesn't think about his, career ending short or anything like that. He said you only should take care of your body. But maybe that's something that's more important to him is I get the guaranteed money, not as much the annual average, because who knows what's going to happen in this league. And I think that's a big thing to remember when these parties have these negotiations.
Very good. Bulldog and I will take it from later on. No more Cook time needed here. I just know this is where I say I'm gullible. The way Beane is talking, the way Allen is talking, Cook showed up. I think there's something coming down the pike here before we get to training camp. But I fall for a lot of things. Sal Capaccio on the West Her hotline. Kincaid, you said you heard some of our conversation. What I wonder about, you tweeted about red zone goal line stuff. Where do those touchdowns come from? Do the Bills want to reshape their offense, if that's not putting it too strongly, to afford Kincaid more opportunities there? I don't really think that they need to. I think it's almost like too forced of an attempt to get him to a different place, maybe in terms of production. I mean, 30 rushing touchdowns last year, they're not going to be a team that, unless they can't run the ball in this year, unlike last year, that will want to really scramble for, certain guys maybe to get more targets there. It's just not really been what they've needed to do. Is that too just generalized or too simplistic a way of looking at what Kincaid's role in inside the 20 might actually be?
No, it's a good point. It's a good point, right? I mean, like, you have the best goal line back in the league. His name is Josh Allen when he runs the ball. He's going to run a lot in those situations. They're going to hand the ball off a lot. when they get down there. And then, who knows? They don't have these super huge red zone targets, so it's everybody. It truly is kind of an everybody eats when you get down there as well as it is around the field. They try to have that mentality, right? You never know. So if it's talking about touchdowns in the red zone, in that area down there, yeah. I mean, and look, you guys know how this works. When you get down in that area, you're going to have bigger people come in on the defensive side. You're going to have to maybe block them a little bit. And is that something they're ready for Dalton Kincaid to be a part of as much? Or do they view, okay, you're going to do that, we're going to have a nice matchup we can find. So I think it could go a little bit of both ways. But, yeah, look, I think it's tough for anybody in this offense, Mike, anybody in this offense to really thrive statistically like they might in another offense because of the mentality of the OC, the quarterback, what they've structured here, and the balance they want to strike. And that's nothing wrong with that, right? It doesn't play well in fantasy football when you're drafting people. I get that, right? And it doesn't get you to all pros because you don't get the stats. But it's a way to win, and that's the way they look at it.
Did you make anything of Beane, I guess, reiterating, because he did say the same thing to Tyler Dunn shortly after he made the remarks about Kincaid as the offseason began. How much stock do you put in him sort of walking that back? Like, I should have worded that differently. I'm not sure exactly what the quote was, but it sounded like he wanted some of what he said about Kincaid back because maybe he felt he was a little harder on him than he meant to be.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the season, you evaluate your roster. You talk about the things that people need. You come off a disappointing loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. You're one game away from the Super Bowl again. And, I think that you probably say things maybe a little bit differently. Maybe on Keon Coleman as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. You get there. I also think that you reflect on as the offseason goes, as you see these guys in the weight room working, and you talk with trainers, you talk with doctors, you talk with them, and maybe there's you know what? That was just more significant and hindering than we actually thought. That could happen as well. I mean, I'll use the example of Deion Walker, the kid they just drafted. Deion Walker was said to be maybe like a second-round pick, I think, a couple of years ago. Goes back for another year at Kentucky, does not have a really good year. They find out at his pro day, he has a back injury he's been dealing with, right? Like, it's not the same as saying anything, but you're like, okay, like maybe, like we didn't realize how much that really impacted him. Maybe it took them till the offseason, guys, for him to get in the training room, for him to meet with doctors, with medical staff, to get back in the weight room, for them to say, boy, that was more impactful to you than we thought. Maybe we should have shut you down a little bit.
Sal, you made a comment about Joe Andreessen and maybe there being room for growth there. I'd like to hear you on that because as good of a local story as it was, and just a story in general, it kind of has seemed to me like maybe that's the extent of it. But I think maybe you could see him playing a bigger role.
It depends on what bigger role than last year for sure. I think, whatever role anybody envisions him in this year, I would say that to me, yeah, the way I tweeted it and what I said was he's gone from a cool, fun story to a guy who can play in the league, like, oh, yeah, this guy can play a little bit in the league, to what I believe this year to be a player who really can help the Bills as, yes, a main special teams guy for sure, but I mean like a primary backup middle linebacker. Like, to me, he's beating out Balen Spector right now. I think he's the number 2 middle linebacker right now. And I think someone would, to me, it's on Joe Andreessen to lose that job. I don't think Balen Spector is just suddenly. Balen Spector has a hard time staying healthy and available. And I'll tell you, the other part of it is Joe has done a really good job in coverage and when I'm watching 7-on-7, and that's just not a Balen Spector strong suit. Right? I mean, you want a guy that, you can have out there in 3-down situations if he has to fill in for any need for Terrell Bernard. I think that's your guy right now, and I really like what I've seen from him. I've seen Joe a couple times over the spring and whatever. We've run into each other a couple times here and there. I think he's bigger. I think that he is. You could see that he's kind of coming into his own in his body in his second year. And I think they trust him. That's the biggest thing. You guys know this coaching staff, the word is trust, right? Sean McDermott. I think they trust him, and they trust him to be reliable and available and do exactly what he's supposed to do.
Well, that is fantastic. Like, you you would think a local guy, any guy that gets the shot, but certainly a guy from Buffalo, right? A dream come true. And I'm actually on the Bills. Like, he came in last year as like a mini camp, right, invite, if I'm not mistaken, or rookie camp, and then just never left. You would expect that guy to work like a beast in the offseason to try to everything, foot speed, strength, in every way, shape, or form. Like, you got a training technique I can try? What is it? Right? Like, I would expect that guy to just be all in on trying to impress on them. Like, all right, you liked me last year. Let me show you what I can really do.
I agree. And, Joe is all about football, right? He really is. And he's always been that way. This is how he got to where he is. A cool side story to all this, and I say this sometimes to people, and I don't know if they realize, Joe went to a tryout with the Kansas City Chiefs before he went to the Bills.
Yeah.
Like, because their rookie minicamp was before the Bills that year. That's why, right? Not like he chose the Chiefs over the Bills, not painting it that way. And the Chiefs didn't sign him. He comes to Buffalo, and they sign him. And it's just kind of a cool thing, right? That's the Bills and Chiefs, and this is one guy that, okay, maybe this is a guy that can help you. And I envision a world someday where maybe there's a critical play that matters between the Bills and the Chiefs, and Joe Andreessen makes it, and you're like, that's the guy you could have had, but he came to Buffalo, and he's a local guy. I think that's a cool sidebar to the story.
Yeah, has to happen on Worthy.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
I'm going to say on an end around then.
On Worthy.
Yeah.
So I don't think I want. If Joe Andreessen is covering Xavier Worthy down the field, we got a problem. Probably.
I'll see the guy I let get away with my guy that you let get away right here in the open field. Let's meet. All right, Sal. Well, on to the actual offseason, the one time in the calendar where we maybe have an exception to the idea that football is 24/7, 365 for about the next month. Not that that means we won't be talking about it, but this is break time.
It is for the players and coaches. It's the time of year when Andrew Brandt always says it's the worst time of year for any executive, because anytime the phone rings, you think something happened. They have to deal with one of their players. You hope that doesn't happen. You hope everybody stays safe and happy and healthy and does everything they're supposed to do. Guys will get out of town. They'll go away. Even coaches. I talk to coaches. You just say, yep, they're going to go away for a couple of weeks and do something. And, but they'll be back and they'll get things ready for training camp. And then, full steam ahead once we get to July and training camp out at St. John Fisher.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that enjoys getting calls from a number they don't recognize. But I would imagine NFL GMs any time of the day. But you make the point about it, like the middle of the night or something. But you get like, and even a guy like Brandon Beane probably knows more area codes than the average guy.
Oh, that's a good point. Right, that's an interesting point.
Right, just because you've been around and you are on the phone with these different people in different areas of the country, and you get, why am I getting a call from Georgia? Why?
Does he know his area codes?
No, I don't want this call.
Does he? Is he somebody that in life answers the phone when he doesn't know the number? Because who's left doing that? Is a National Football League manager somebody that has to do that? Does he get spammed more than we do?
Maybe.
Because he answers the phone all the time?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Sorry to offer
I didn't ask
question.
him that today. I talked to him briefly for a minute afterward, but I did not ask him. Maybe that's a question we can save. Maybe that's a question we ask him. It appears on Hard Knocks, right? When it's all said and done. They put it on Hard Knocks, and all of a sudden you have Liv Shriver come and go, and they show like some phone ring on Brandon Beane's screen. Like they show that's where the shot is, and then his voice comes over and goes, Brandon Beane knows all of the area codes in the country. Something like that.
Who is Spam Risk? Is he on my 90-man? Let me check Sal's grid to see if Spam Risk is somebody on my depth chart. All right, Sal, well, enjoy the break as far as it pertains to you, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, guys, thanks.
All right, that's our man Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. His appearances are brought to you by New York's only outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
I did, because of all the preparation that goes into this show, spent some time yesterday on rules changes. We have the onside kick thing. The touchback is moved. There are a couple things, and one or two of those I think will be fun to talk about. James Cook, Dalton, Kincaid, the Bills in 2025, 803-0550. If you want to share your thoughts with us, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after the update here on WGR.
Now off until training camp as they wrapped up mandatory minicamp this morning. General Manager Brandon Beane did speak with the media following practice and confirmed that rookie corner Max Hairston tweaked his hamstring, but should be good to go for camp. For more on mandatory minicamp from this week and today, Sal Capaccio has pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final between Florida and Edmonton gets going tonight at 8 down in Florida. Our coverage, though, will start about a half hour before that at 7:30. And that coverage is presented by Figo Car and Joyce Shore Border Attorneys and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. In golf, round 1 of the U.S. Open is well and truly underway at Oakmont Country Club. J.J. Spawn leads the way following a bogey-free round. He sits at 4 under. And for more on the U.S. Open, do tune in to a 2-hour Tee to Green show Saturday morning live from Pendleton Creek Golf Club from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Host of Tee to Green, Brian Kosil, will join the show in just a little while at 6 p.m., so do stay tuned for that. And it is Throwback Thursday for the Bisons. They host the Clippers just after 6:30, and you can listen to that game over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Some of our conversations, and Keon can take it. Like, for a young man, I give him a lot of credit. Of course, anybody can take praise. It's not easy to take criticism, and he took it unbelievable. And that's the thing I tried to stress to him when he got back is you did a lot of positive things. Don't focus on just the things that we want to see improve. And he's worked hard. He's been here the whole time. You know, you can see when him and Josh were here, they're forming that rapport and kind of picking up where they were pre-injury last year. So I'm excited where he's at.
Brandon Beane on Keon Coleman. The Bills kicked off after practice today. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here to talk about them endlessly. 803-0550 is the number if you find that appealing. You want to do that yourself. Although it won't go on forever. It'll be short, but it'll still be, hopefully worthwhile. Bulldog is watching old games now?
I am not watching old games now, but a highlight from 1981 involving the Chiefs and the Steelers came through my Twitter feed last night, and the heading, the caption got me. Is that Steelers have a loss similar to Miracle at the Meadowlands. It's 2 minutes, not 30 seconds, so it's not like right at the end, but they're running the clock out and botch a handoff. And what happened when I didn't even choose to watch it. It just started up as soon as it came onto my screen, and it was early enough in the clip that they sort of breezed past the sideline with a camera shot, and I thought, oh my God, is that Marv Levy? Is he the Chiefs coach in 1981? I sort of forgot. I didn't want to go look. I could have just gone and looked, but I'm just going to watch this because I think that's Marv. And in my head, I know he comes to the Bills in '86, and I didn't know that there was a 5-year gap in between him coaching an NFL team and getting the job with the Bills. But there was. Well, 4 years. He's there till '82 in Kansas City. So, okay. But this is such a cool little play. And Marv, in 1981, there's Marv, and so I watched it, and it was a pretty cool little deal. But yeah, it's very similar to Miracle of the Meadowlands in that they're not just kneeling. It's 2 minutes still. There's enough time left. They're running a play. They try to hand the ball off, and a linebacker shoots a gap, and Bradshaw never gets the ball to Franco Harris, and it's on the ground, and somebody else comes through and just scoops it up and runs 70 yards for a touchdown to put the Chiefs ahead with the extra point by 4, 37-33. But at the end of the clip then, it goes on for a while. The Steelers get the ball back. They turn it over on an interception by Bradshaw, forcing the ball down the field. And there's Marv celebrating with all the guys. I'm like, there's Marv. Wow, that's so cool. So, yeah, not exactly watching old games, but the Marv piece. If I didn't notice Marv.
It's a gateway.
If I didn't notice Marv right away in that clip, I probably would have just kept going. But, was that Marv Levy? And then I had to watch the whole thing, and then I tweeted it. And it was pretty cool. What really it's Bob Costas, by the way, on the play-by-play. And, I mean, he sounds like he's 19 years old or something. Like, you just can't.
It looks.
You just can't. It's like, it took me, I'm watching it for, the clip is, I don't even know, 2 minutes long maybe. And I'm watching it. And he's talking. I'm like, I think I recognize this voice. Who is this? And then he said something just a certain way that you've probably heard him say 1,000 times or 100, whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Bob Costas with Bob Trumpy. And Trumpy is so great in the clip because the Chiefs score the touchdown and the Steelers, there's time. And Costas says, well, it's not over. There's still a lot of time left here. Enough time to maybe make something happen. And Trumpy's like, they're done. I don't know if he says they're done. He's like, they're not coming back from that. Something like that. You're about to ice the game, and that happens. You're standing on the sidelines trying to figure out what just happened. Your head is spinning. You're worried about what the coaches are going to say to you. How mad is everyone going to be? Whatever. You're not getting off the mat from this. And then the next clip is Bradshaw throwing an interception to the Chiefs to steal the game. Like,
good for him.
Good job, Trumpy.
I kind of liked him always. He was a little bit loose sometimes, but the game needs that, I think. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you often, like, that you rarely will hear an announcer do.
Yeah.
Is, like, basically predict the ending.
Right.
And that's pretty good. Costas, the Bills beating the Dolphins after losing 20 straight times to start the 1980 season. That win is a Costas game.
Really?
Costas and Mike Hafner. Yeah. Hafner was a receiver that had done he did color for NBC, I don't know, for maybe a couple of years, maybe a few years. But that's a Bob Costas game. That's a tough one to find. The Bills-Dolphins 1980 opener.
Right.
This is the Steelers 81 opener that you're talking about.
Right.
That's a tough one to find. I think it's on YouTube, but it's kind of grainy. It's not a great tape.
Something else that
Great
stands
quality.
out from this, by the way, is first of all, the graphics are, they're ancient, of course. But after the fumble, I don't think they would have had a reason to show it while they're trying to run a play here to run end the game here effectively. But they fumbled 8 times, the Steelers, in this game, and lost 5 of them.
I know. Don't get me started.
Like eight fumbles, lost 5, and they were ahead by 3 points.
They're winning, yeah.
They're winning. They're trying to ice the game. Well, they had 7 fumbles and had lost 4 at that point. But still, holy cow.
Listen, this can be for anybody. What's the thing about sports in the old days you cannot comprehend? Sneaky Joe would be NHL goalies.
Right.
Maybe, like, what's the thing about sports in the old... This is in our lifetimes. This game, back to the Bills, 1980 opener, to your point, Joe Ferguson threw 5 picks in that game and they won.
Right.
Like, there were 13 turnovers in Bills-Dolphins 1980 opener.
Right.
7 by the Bills, 6 by Miami.
Balls.
There were almost more turnovers than points. The final score was 17-7.
None of these teams had ball security as their prom themes. No, there was not. No.
The 1979 Steelers, what's the number? 60? The 79 Steelers, like, dynasty, Super Bowl winner, 4 in 6 years, a classic, all-time great team. They had like 60 turnovers. I have to get the exact number now.
Yeah, right.
I'm close. It doesn't make any sense.
Right, it's insane.
How did you not? How were you not able to avoid that?
To take care of the ball a little bit? Yeah.
The very best teams.
No gloves.
No gloves.
That's a start, maybe. I don't know.
I don't understand. This would be like that for me. One of those for me is trying to understand how you could have like just this insane number of turnovers and win almost all your games. The 79 Steelers were 12-4. They had 52 turnovers in the regular season, and then it's 60. They had 8 more in the playoffs. It's exactly 60 turnovers that year. What did the Bills just have? 6?
Yeah. Yeah.
6?
I think that's the number.
For the whole season?
I think that was the number, yeah.
Allen fumbled 3 times in the Kansas City playoff game. He didn't lose any of them.
Right. It is. I do like to. I mean, it's a different point. You mentioned Sneaky Joe and the goalies. Like I've said a few different times, not that we've ever spent like hours talking about it or anything, but I don't think any position in the sports that we pay attention to has changed more over my lifetime than hockey goalie. I just think the way it's played, the way it's coached, the way it's taught, the technical aspects of it, like it just. I'm a teenager, and goalies are just like flopping around everywhere. The technique is all over the road. It's just get in the way is the technique. It's just there's not doesn't appear to be any sort of theory behind it. It's just like any way you can do it. I mean, okay. And now it's just like this hyper technical mental processing. Just there's so much that goes into it. But this point about the sport overall and taking care of the ball and how poorly that was done, again, 40, 50 years ago compared to now is incredible.
The 79 Steelers went to Cincinnati in Week 7 at a record of 5-1. The Bengals were 1-5. The Steelers were a 10-point favorite. They fumbled 9 times, losing 7. And threw 2 picks and lost 34-10 as a 10-point favorite. Like you should lose, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And Cincinnati gave 4 turnovers back. So there are 13 turnovers in this game. I don't understand how that was so prevalent. I really don't get it. Like grease on the football? Was there something about gripping the ball for a running back?
I'm not entirely kidding about the gloves. I mean,
no, okay,
but there's more. There's more to it than that.
The Bills had 8 turnovers last year.
Okay,
the Steelers had 9 in this game.
Right. This game ends effectively on a Bradshaw interception. In addition to the 5 lost fumbles.
Your game. Right.
There's that interception. I didn't go look for the box score to find out how maybe he threw 3 more. I have no idea. Maybe he turned the ball over 7 times and still were ahead with 2 minutes to go.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Just incredible how careless that was.
But turnovers are everything. And Pittsburgh went, and I'm not sure they're the only example or even the best example of this, but it's always stuck with me that for all it makes sense. The coach's obsession with turnovers. Think about Allen. I could talk all day on this. Good thing, right? With this having a job like this.
I thought of you in this because we've talked about the Steelers recently enough that when I saw this and I saw that graphic about the fumbles, I was like, "Oh, this is right up your alley." Like this has come up before. I think everybody played that way.
The Steelers fumbled 8 times in that game you watched. They had 7 turnovers to Kansas City's 2. They had way more yards and first downs and still lost.
Right.
It makes sense that turnovers are seen as critically important. I think it's right. I think Allen won the MVP for 2 reasons. One is that he cut back. It happened to cut back on his upside too. But he cut back on the mistakes that his critics know him for, right? Like sort of those Josh Allen plays, the hero ball plays.
Yeah, it's possible that the 23 season MVP was lost by him on opening night in New York.
Yeah, and they didn't have the record, right?
Right.
Like, they're 6-6 that year, and then they went out. But that's what I mean. Like I think his reputation, right or wrong, fair or unfair, for those kind of gaffes through his career have, been a big part of the conversation about him.
Yeah, all over football. People are like, yeah, he's great, but...
And then last year he didn't turn the ball over. Right. I think he won the MVP because a thing about his game, a feature of his game was seemingly, improved upon significantly. And the other is they didn't want to give Lamar Jackson 3 before he won, even won an AFC championship. I think that probably entered the minds of some of the voters, like the legacy stuff. I think that's real. But, I think the Allen turnover point was kind of exaggerated, but still, turnovers are critically important. The point is, how did teams not know that in the 80s or the 70s, or did they just not have a way of? I mean, teams didn't throw as much, but that throwing more should mean more turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback gets hit, interceptions, obvious reasons.
If you're putting the ball on the ground 8 times in a game, and I don't know, like this, the play that's highlighted here is an attempted running play that never even gets to the handoff, and the ball's on the ground. But if you're fumbling, if your running back has a fumbling problem, wouldn't you throw more, like, as to try to defend that, like try to stave that off? Like I don't know.
Yeah, did Franco Harris fumble constantly?
I don't know. I never knew. That's the thing about living through that era, watching these people play, and not perceiving them as mistake prone. Like these were half the guys on the screen in this video are in the Hall of Fame,
right,
from the Steelers. I mean, what is happening?
Franco Harris fumbled 90 times. That would be lost, I think. I never know for sure until I have to look deeper. Is that fumbles lost or is that fumbles? He fumbled 90 times.
How many years did he play?
72 to 84. 13. I'm in on this now. Like I just can't. Does anybody have a theory? Is anybody out there older than Bulldog? Marv Levy in that game you watched from the Dark Ages was older than I am now.
Right.
Marv is 99.
Right.
So he would have been 55 in 1981. After his birthday, he might have been 56. What a life. Amazing. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550. This is WGR. You may have lost me for the day. I love it. You may have lost me. The 1979 Pittsburgh Steelers. If there's a better example anybody knows about, I kind of doubt it for a team that was great, like legendarily great, but completely inept in the turnover department. The 70 regular season only, they fumbled 42 times that year. 16 games, 42 fumbles. The Bills last year fumbled 9 times in more games. What were we missing in 1979? Right. Was it a bit? Were the Steelers so good that they sort of joked about how they couldn't hold the ball? I don't think that would be it.
No, probably not.
I don't think it was a joke to them. Was it a serious matter, Bulldog? Was it a serious matter? Did Chuck Noll, after games, how would McDermott be? I mean, 45 times more fumbles almost. How would McDermott be if the Bills went 12-4? I'm just going to say a 16-game season to be normal here.
Okay.
Let's say the Bills went 12-4 and fumbled 42 times in the process, but they almost always won. I mean, how is he after those games? We've got to take better care of the ball. If the Bills fumble twice in a game, that's like a lead story.
Yeah. Yeah. Furthermore, I paid attention. We didn't, need it be said. There weren't a lot of distractions. I didn't have a smartphone. So I'm watching the football game. And I'm listening to what is being said. And I don't remember the announcers being like, oh, here we go again with these Steelers and the turnovers or any team from that era. It just was how it was. So I don't remember people being, obviously you didn't want to turn the ball over, but it was just par for the course, it feels like to me. At least that's my memory. I don't recollect hearing, even this highlight. It's not, another turnover by the Steelers. You know what I mean?
Even though it's 7 or 9
right.
in the game.
It's incredible. Just accepting of, okay, well, that's how it goes sometimes.
Looking at a leaders list, I think I have Franco Harris and Tony Dorsett, each with 90 career fumbles. That's not fumbles lost. That's just fumbles. And I think that's tied for the most in league history for a non-quarterback, 90. And the all-time leader, which is it's all quarterbacks above this, is Brett Favre with 166 fumbles. Allen is at, I think, 64. James Cook is at 6. Franco's fumble stats, 9, 8, 10, 7 a year, like every other game.
Yep.
Every other game he fumbled. And nobody blinked an eye. 803-0550, something weird about sports that you can't understand, here in the modern times. I'm just a caveman. I have no idea. It's the opposite, though. That's not the right reference. That's the opposite. That's being in modern times, not understanding modern times.
Right.
This I don't understand about the old days. Believe it or not, there's something about the old days I don't get. How they fumbled on every third play in the NFL
right.
and won a Super Bowl going away is baffling to me. Lines are open for you. This is WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day, I'm right. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid.
The Buffalo Bills are off until training camp. They wrapped up mandatory minicamp this morning, and following practice, Brandon Beane did speak with the media and confirmed rookie corner Max Hairston tweaked his hamstring, but should be good to go for camp. For more on this week, Sal Capaccio has pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final between Florida and Edmonton gets going tonight at 8 down in Florida. Our coverage will start at 7:30. That coverage is presented by Fiegel Car and Joy Shore Border Attorneys and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. The Oilers do have some changes for tonight. Jeff Skinner and Troy Stetcher go into the lineup, while in net it'll be Stuart Skinner. Round 1 of the U.S. Open is underway at Oakmont Country Club. We do have a new leader, Sungjae Im, as he sits at 5 under. He is the sole leader as we round out day number 1. For more on the U.S. Open, tune into 2-hour Tee to Green show Saturday morning live from Pendleton Creek Golf Club from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And stay tuned, as coming up in just about an hour at 6 p.m., Tee to Green host Brian Kosil will join the show. And it is Throwback Thursday for the Bisons. They host the Clippers just after 6:30. You can listen to that game over on our sister station, The Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I got a speeding ticket in the mail yesterday.
In the mail?
Yeah. I think I'm going to just ignore it.
It's Mike Schopp.
Where was this?
Spain.
And the Bulldog.
I think if I just lay low, I think I'll get away with it.
Not mention it on the air?
Definitely don't want to talk about it on the air.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I like the sound of this more and more as we go. I'm an outlaw.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
You had lost me, I'm back, and now we've lost Bulldog to the TV. I think this is a classic case of over-pressing.
That has not been a problem.
You're pressing too many buttons at once, and the TV does not know what to do.
I'm only pressing the one button.
Well, you were trying to turn it off then.
Well, I did. I did that once, and it didn't work. I think we got a remote problem, is what I think we've got here.
You're trying to find Peacock.
Right.
And you're saying that should just be in here. And well, I think there's another device that needs to be in here that I don't see, so that you can toggle between cable and stream.
I understand, but the TV itself would still change to the setting. The video setting needs to change to a different thing, and the button to press that is not activating. The TV doesn't care whether there's a box there. It would go to the other setting and just be blank.
Only if there is another setting available. We are an old married couple. Like the
TV doesn't know whether Joe's mom's device is plugged into it or not.
I think it would.
I don't think this TV is that new.
There's nothing else for it to go to, I think. No. Well, there's some reason why it's not working. Yeah. I don't know.
See, the thing...
I'm watching it on my laptop.
Yeah, good for you. I
pay for Peacock.
Yeah, good,
don't ask me why.
Doubly good for you. Why don't you
I deserve it.
Give out the password on the air while you're at it. I'm trying to turn it off again, and it won't turn off. So we got a remote problem. I don't notice. Do you notice something that isn't up there, that has been up there, that I've never seen? This device you're talking about that we need to have in the room?
I can't swear to it. That's always been
nothing
common
looks different
sense
to
me that there would have to be Joe brings something in and hooks it up so he can watch the featured threesome in the morning, whatever it is. That sounded a little kinky. Major championship golf, whatever. And I don't know. Maybe that's not here.
Is everybody enjoying the sound of me banging the remote against the palm of my hand?
I think we've lost you.
You have lost me. This is the kind of thing that swallows me whole at home. Like that I cannot rest mentally, emotionally until why isn't this working? Why can't I figure out how to make this work?
I
pay X amount of money to have this service, and it's not what is happening. We got a remote problem. I think everything would be working if this remote were working. I think Joe's thing is still in here, or whatever we would need. I just can't get the remote to work.
I got $10 on this.
We're going to hear from Joe. Hopefully,
$10 bet.
Hopefully he's on his way to Jer and Nate's fundraiser at Wayland Brewing, which I'm going to from here tonight, raising money for the 100 holes of golf that Jeremy and Nate are taking part in later this month. And hopefully Joe is riding right now, but can't text because it's unsafe, and will tell us.
Sure.
No, the thing's there, man. I didn't do anything.
$10.
All right, you're on.
Okay. Here's Tom with us. Hi, Tom.
How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me.
Terrible. I can't watch the golf right now, Tom.
I'm watching it. That's what makes it worse for him.
Yes.
Well, I was thinking about you had this topic about why was there so many turnovers back then. Well, I think I got the interceptions figured out pretty easily. The rules are so much different. I can't imagine what it would be like to play against Mel Blount and Donnie Shell without any instant replay. You know, them guys they were draped all over the receivers. So that's pretty much
sure. Yeah, that era is making it more convenient for the passing game. That's right. Yeah.
The fumbles I really can't speak to, other than maybe there was some extracurriculars afterwards, or the late whistle, something like that. Maybe
could be right. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Tom. That seems to make sense. Good.
Just one other little thing. You guys were talking about watching games from like 1981. I caught one on YouTube. It was Dan Marino's first start, and it was against the Bills, and it was really pretty good because the audio and visual was actually excellent.
Yes, 83. Yes, that's a good one.
Okay.
That's right. That's a good one to watch for a Bills fan, for sure.
It's kind of fun because you see the names, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
And it's the Bills' first win in Miami in 17 years.
That's Ferguson's 4-touchdown game, or 5 even.
Yeah.
I don't know how big. It's big.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. We could look that up, but that's 83 season in the Orange Bowl.
It is taking everything I've got not to go up there right now. Right as the Open was playing, and I realized I needed to sit down to do the show with you, I discovered the buttons on the side of the TV, on the left side of the TV. I can't see them from here, but they're there. I need to turn the TV. One of them is going to be this video button. I'm going to click it until it gets to the setting that I need, and then this thing is going to work.
Hang on. Can you just quiet down for a second? Im is about to hit the ball.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, good. Is he still 4 under?
5.
5? Go team anti-Brian.
Scott's next. Hello, Scott.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about the fumbles piece of it, and I was just then dovetailing off the last caller, but the rules had changed so much that, at that time, I don't think there was a late hit ever. I think those guys, when you guys have guys like Jack Tatum and the book comes out and says they call me assassin, it just seems like during that time there was more opportunity for extracurriculars. The play was never dead, I don't think.
You're right.
There were extracurriculars, and the hitting was. Watch a highlight reel, if you can find it, probably on YouTube, of the biggest hits from the 1980 season. Guys would be ejected from the league, not even just from the game. They would the league office would follow these men home now, and it would be incredible.
How that ties.
Go ahead.
I don't know how that ties into fumbles, but it just seems like it would create more fumbles for sure. Than what we have today. So.
Yeah, if you've got a middle linebacker, right, who can with impunity blast receivers in the head area as they're coming across catching the ball. Yeah, I mean there's probably some fumbles in there, right? I don't know if what's the with the arm? There's not a horse collar. I don't know the name of but it
clothesline.
Clothesline. Thank you. I don't know when that got outlawed, but I know I watched football when it was allowed. I feel like so. Maybe I'm off on my timeline. I'm exaggerating, perhaps. So I can slow down. But the hitting was more violent. More was allowed. So that should be a contributing factor, I would think, to more fumbles.
I think a couple things. You want to Bulldog gave you one idea. If you want to find like what hitting looked like then, Armando Salguero recently tweeted a 4 or 5 minute montage for some reason about special teams in the 70s or 80s. I watched it. I almost tweeted back at him, but it wasn't really on point. I mean, you got guys getting dumped on their heads repeatedly. Like you just tackled and landing on their heads. Everything looks illegal, which is the point. Right. Everything looks illegal back then. I think maybe there's a different or another. There has to be at least another explanation for there being so many more fumbles. And I think replay is part of it. I think the game was just much less officious, if that's a word.
If the ball ended up on the ground, there was no debating whether it was a fumble or not. It's on the ground.
I think close plays where maybe it was a catch and maybe it was incomplete. It was a catch and it was a fumble. Like, let's just keep playing. I think maybe that, I don't know this, but I think maybe that was the default call if it was close.
Mm-hmm.
Catch, fumble. I do think I remember lots of these kind of plays over the years back then that, because I watch these games and I think, well, now that would be called differently. And more annoyingly, we'd have to sit around for 5 minutes first debating sky ref and space ref and how many challenges a team has and whether they've used their challenges unsuccessfully and all the nonsense that you get from today's game that I think maybe just we decided is unavoidable because we think we have enough technology to correct these calls, and yet we've been saying that for 40 years and we still don't. So one of these years, maybe somebody, some bright mind in the owners meeting goes, do we ever want to have a conversation about whether any of this actually works? What did Jeremy have that I offered a snide remark to on Twitter a day or two ago? I think it was about hockey. Offside challenge or some next hockey ridiculous detail replay thing.
Yes.
And no, it was college basketball. College basketball, I think, is adding to the replay menu. They're adding new plays that can be reviewed, which is just what that sport needs.
Right.
And my tweet was, think of all the national championships that would have ended differently.
I saw this exchange, yeah.
I mean, it's the worst.
Yeah, his tweet was like, we're never getting out. We're never escaping.
Right.
It's never stopping.
Right.
Right.
And it's the wrong people have the say in this. And, you could debate that because who are those people? They're the people who run teams and leagues. They're the people in charge. They are the wrong people to have determine how much replay we need in sports because that really should be for the fans. And I'll never forget Tim Murray on this.
Right.
I like Tim Murray for a lot of things, but I just was incredulous. Not really, because I think he was probably maybe by a lot the majority opinion in the league, in league circles.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just so frustrated by it because we were arguing about this, I think off the air, maybe both on and off the air with him one night. And he just goes, look, you guys have never lost a game on a bad call. I'm like, that's not the right point. I'm a fan. My team has lost tons of games on bad calls. I know it's not the same as being the team GM, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
And there are 82 games in a hockey season. If you lose, but the playoffs, I know, it's always something. If you lose a game on a missed offsides call in the second period against Minnesota, tough. I mean, there's 50 interference and hooking calls in games that are not called. We don't care. We just care about offsides. What sense does that make? How am I even yelling about this on a summer day?
All these years later.
Why is it even in my brain right now?
Right.
Is it really because Franco Harris fumbled 90 times that I'm talking about Tim Murray and the offsides challenge?
I think so. Yeah.
Why? College basketball, maybe you like college basketball, maybe you love it, maybe you don't care. If you're mid on college basketball, this is the kind of thing that will make you hate it. Because you'll be watching a good game, and you'll just have 10 more stoppages to the 20 there already comes with because of all the timeouts at the end of games. And you're just going to add 50% more stoppages to that because you have to see if the clock should read 0.8 or 1.1. Just play.
Right, or whose fingernail the ball went off as it was going out of bounds or whatever it is. Yeah, right.
Can we just play? No, we can't. We can't just play. So I think really, in a good way, sports pre-replay were just like, that's the call, that's it. I mean, there was nothing anybody could do about it.
Yeah.
Coaches would argue, but it was over. The call is made, and it was over. And, life went on.
Yep.
There were bad calls. There are infamous bad calls. But life goes on. And somehow we survived it. And now we are lying to ourselves thinking that we can actually rid the world of this plague of bad calls. We haven't. And we can add 50 space refs. And they're still going to look at plays and be like, I don't know.
Right. We're still like any Bills fan listening to this conversation is going, Allen had that first down on the quarterback sneak before, whatever, in that Chief game. He had it. We all know it. But even with all the King's men and all the King's horses putting Humpty Dumpty back together again, they could not get a shot that told you that. Even though, you look at it, and I think somewhat objectively, even boy, it sure looks like he got across that line. No, we don't have it, so too bad, you lose. Jay, tell me more about your perfect system. Yeah. Boy, and so it is really... My thing was also officiating. With the caller's point about the violence, the hits that were allowed is also how the game was officiated. And this ultimately is too. The mechanisms that are in place now that will prevent those plays from happening, an incomplete pass versus a fumble. Yeah. I would have looked at a play in 1977, it sure looked like he caught it. It's a fumble. Okay. Turnover. That's it. It goes on the stat sheet as a fumble, even though, we'd go back and look at those plays now and be like, oh, my God, that's not a catch at all.
In the 80s and into the 90s, we would look forward to the day where the picture was better. And, we were always headed that way. And the NFL was always big. There's always going to be this growth. 98 maybe is HD. There was always going to be this, and we were all, I'm sure, 100% of us were excited for it. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have been. I'm not saying it's not great. But it is the cause. It has made it available to football and all sports to hyperanalyze everything.
Sure.
Needlessly.
Because from a technological standpoint, if you can't, in real enough time, produce a replay with 7 different angles that shows every possible version of what actually just happened, and it's going to take you minutes even after the commercial to come back and show a replay of something because the mechanism just took that long. You don't have. There's no way you can functionally have instant replay to make rulings on the field. You just can't. Not only was the picture grainy, you just weren't going to get again, all these different camera angles and all that, like, why bother? But once he had all that, and then the picture is just, oh my God, it's the prettiest thing I've ever seen. Well, guess what? Now we think we can.
Here's Phil next. Hi, Phil.
Hey, Mike and Bulldog, thank you. Just to expand on the points you're making, it's amazing that these sports industries try to bring, one of the goals is to try to bring in more fans that aren't fans. And they're doing the exact opposite. They're going to get rid of fans that are already fans because it's taking longer, and you have these replays, especially with this NCAA bringing more replays in there. They're actually it's going to go the opposite way for them. The baseball's done a good job with speeding up the game a little bit. Mm-hmm. They might bring in more fans, but the rest of these sports are trying to bring in more casual fans, and it's actually going to have the opposite effect if they keep going this route. It's ridiculous.
Maybe. That I wish I could say that like I know it. I can't say that like I know it because sports is not getting smaller.
Right. It's so present that I don't know. I'd be surprised. I mean, somebody of a certain age, sure. We'll see when college basketball gets to the tournament in March. Right, that's when a lot of people will start paying attention to college basketball, and if that is more cumbersome, you'll maybe hear about it. I don't know that I'll hear a lot about it during the regular season because I won't be paying that much attention to it. But eventually, it will be in my living room, and it will probably annoy me. But I think we're so conditioned to expect it now that I don't know. I think my son loves sports as much as I do, maybe even more. My oldest son, anyway. And he's grown up with replay just in his life. It just is a fact of life. And I don't know that he even is bothered by it in the least. We've never really talked about it. But it's just, if it's there and it's what you're used to, that's the game. I love the game. I'll get past it. But for those of us that are a little older, it just is more cumbersome, more problems, more, let's talk to our rules analyst. And, oh, my gosh, it just makes me insane.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember watching games and there being replay. And so you had some idea of whether there was a mistake, and you knew it wasn't correctable. Like, you'd have often – you watch a play, you think, I don't know, did he catch it? They show you a replay, and you know a little bit better, maybe. Before that, before my time, you wouldn't even get the replay.
Right.
And I wonder what that was compared to this. Because if you didn't even have access to instant replay, maybe that's the 60s, sometimes at least, you would never even, process any of it. Like the possibility, I don't know if it was a mistake.
Right.
There's no way for me to relive that. I'm not recording this. I can't rewind it and look again.
I'm not going to be able to watch it frame by frame on my phone tomorrow morning.
There's no replay available on the broadcast.
Right.
And this is the only time, that was the only time anybody will ever see that. Life might have been simpler that way, where you just can't know, and there's no world where, you could know, so it's just that's it. There's no frustration, probably. I mean, how obvious would it have to have been in the early 1960s watching pro football to see a play and be like, oh my God, I can't believe that call was that. We know that was wrong. I mean, you can't even make out the players' numbers on the screen. But so there would have been no ref discussion probably before TV got good.
Immaculate reception. Speaking of the Steelers, right? That predates this where we started here, but still, that just was ruled what it was ruled. There was debate about it, but we never even got a clean look at it.
There still, it really isn't one.
Yeah, it just doesn't exist.
It's still
So that's my point earlier. You can't have replay if replays don't even really, like you're saying, they don't even exist.
Well, they did have
in the broadcast.
They did have a form of replay on that play. They went to the phones and called.
Right.
There was a delay in the game. The referee was on the phone with somebody having some conversation about what to do or what actually happened. I don't know if that was exactly instant Maybe. Somebody
in the
game.
TV truck was on the phone with the ref saying, I don't have it. Like whatever, right? I can't see the ball hit the ground.
Did Al DeRogatis make a claim about whether the play was clear and obvious or what happened there? It's always a lively conversation. I'm watching the Open. If anybody has any questions, Sung J M now to 4 under, tied with JJ Spawn for the lead, and he's in the rough on 13.
I'm going to give myself a big pat on the back for making it through the entire segment in this chair. There was a moment you started to make a point, and in my I don't know if you noticed, I started smiling. I almost started laughing because in my head I thought, how long is he going to talk for, and do I have time to get to the TV, turn it, and start fiddling with the buttons?
That's going to happen now, then?
That's going to happen as soon as I do this spot for Amherst Roofing.
Okay. No further ado. 803-0550, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Training camp. They wrapped up mandatory minicamp this morning. We did hear from general manager Brandon Beane, and he did confirm rookie corner Max Hairston tweaked his hamstring, but he should be good to go for camp. The same holds true for everyone who missed mandatory minicamp with some sort of injury. And for more on today and this week, Sal Capaccio has pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight between Florida and Edmonton. It'll get going at 8 p.m. down in Florida. Our coverage will start a half hour early at 7:30, and that coverage is presented by Figo Car and Joy Shore Border Attorneys and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. Round 1 of the of the U.S. Open is underway at Oakmont Country Club. Sungjae Im and JJ Spawn do lead the way at 4 under. Im still playing. Spawn wrapped up earlier today. For more on the U.S. Open, do tune in to our 2-hour Tee to Green show this Saturday morning live from Pendleton Creek Golf Club from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And stay tuned in just about a half hour. Tee to Green host Brian Kosil will join the show. And it is Throwback Thursday for the Bisons. They host the Clippers just after 6:30, and you can listen to that game over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. Officially, or not,
I was right.
Done.
I was right.
Railing against replay for now.
Oh.
Bulldog was right about the TV. He found Peacock.
Yes.
The remote was not working. That was your assessment?
That was my troubleshooting arrived me at, okay, the remote's a problem. There's buttons on the side of the TV that I can't read. Because I don't know, they look like they might be upside down. I don't know. Anyway, but I was able to fiddle around there and get to it. So we still have Peacock. We still have all the streaming that Joe's mom allows us to have, I guess.
If that's the story. I don't even really know if that's the story. Yes. So we are watching the golf again.
And it's great. I mean, they're in commercial right now, but it's just great to have it back. I really missed it.
Has it been great today? Been good enough.
I think it's hard for it to not be great. Because even guys, if guys aren't playing great, that's great. Like that totally, that works for me, right? Watching, just for an example, Justin Thomas earlier drove into the right rough, had a horrible lie, went like forward a little but left into the left rough and had to play out of there and went back into the right rough. So he crisscrossed the fairway twice and ended up double bogeying the hole. He just couldn't make a good shot. It's not great golf, but it's great to watch to me. Like watching a player struggle through that. Sadly he's someone we should be rooting for. So I don't feel good about that because he's not on Brian's team. Although there's plenty of people who aren't. Only
like
10,
130 guys aren't.
Only
Brian's
10 people
team.
are on Brian's team, and we're in pretty decent shape so far. I'd say he's got Rahm though, right?
Yeah.
It
feels from what I've watched today quite a bit that it's appropriate. I mean, the Open has the reputation that the Open has, where it's hard, and I think it's hard enough. It doesn't seem ridiculous though. The first ball I saw hit today was by Rory McIlroy at like 7:45, maybe like the second hole. And it was this perfect, long, 290 yards or something, second shot, so maybe like a 600-yard hole or something. Maybe I hope I have the hole right. Doesn't matter. And it was just like perfect where it landed maybe 20 feet, 10 feet or something in front of the hole. It started to trickle. And like that shot, you see that shot, and that's just going to be like a kick-in. And instead, it rolled like 30 yards.
Right.
It just rolled forever. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe this. I think I saw the word carnage from a GR tweet this morning. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be awful. Because it can get to a point
where it's stupid.
Where everybody's just losing their minds. It's where it's stupid. But I don't think this is that at all.
No. Yeah, when I turned it on maybe a half hour after you did, like 8:15ish. I got to it, and I didn't see a shot right away, but the first person on my screen was Rory, and the leaderboard was, and Spawn and Rory were both playing, and they were both maybe 2 under. And it was early. I knew they'd only been playing like maybe 2, 3, 4 holes tops. When I turned it on, like, oh, what's going on here? This is the U.S. Open. What are we doing here? And for a while in the morning, there was like a page full of people under par, and we're kind of back there now. Like what happened with the morning group, I think, is they went, it just like guys had their disaster holes and just fell off to the point where there were only, I think at a time before the afternoon guys really hit, there were maybe only 4 players under par, maybe 6 was the number. But then the afternoon people started going, and now we've got, again, a full screen here of guys that are under. But when it started, I thought, that's too low for this early. Like, so nobody should be 2 under already. But it did level off eventually. And we didn't get, 66 is the low score. And I wonder, like, because it doesn't seem like it's been super windy today. And if that becomes a problem, I wonder if 66 will be like the lowest score of the whole tournament.
I guess we'll see. Brian coming up at 6. I mentioned earlier that I spent some time on, it was actually NFL.com was the site, looking at NFL rules changes for this year. We've known and talked about a couple at the time of the meetings and when it was being voted on, like the one about the onside kick, where you can call for an onside kick, announce basically that you're doing it anytime in the game, as long as you're trailing. I think I knew that piece, but that was sort of like my memory was refreshed by that. You have to be losing to use it. Will we ever see anybody do it? I think it'll happen when teams are down by 4 scores in the second half and feel like they have no choice but to do that. So I guess that's good. The fact that you have to announce that you're doing an onside kick, though, something is definitely missing there for the for different reasons. You know, safety.
The successful conversion rate of the onside kick was never great, but once they made the changes they made formationally and this having to declare it, it just went down even further. So it's just a very low percentage chance you're going to get the ball back. So
I bet in 1979 it was easy. Because you would not have had a hands team. You would have had a kickoff team. You would have had Jack Ham would have been on the field for the onside kick. Deep coverage team. Players like that. And if Franco Harris fumbled 90 times,
who could catch?
Who could catch?
Who could handle the ball effectively? Right?
I bet the onside kick was like 80% success rate in the late 70s. Why would you ever not do it? That might have been a good question.
Kick it right at the running back. He's the best hands on the team. No, he's terrible.
Kick it to anybody. They're all just going to drop it.
It's going to bounce off of them, and we're going to fall on it. We don't have to catch it. We just need to fall on it.
Did you know, I think this was one that we probably, got a lot of attention, that in overtime, now it's the playoff rules. So both teams will get a possession in overtime necessarily.
Right, so there's no touchdown. First, you win the toss, go down, score a touchdown, game over. That's gone in the regular season. It's been the case in the playoffs now since the Bills lost the 13 seconds game. Sorry.
That's what did it.
Yeah. That changed so for the playoffs, but now the regular season, I'm glad about that. I have not liked at all that there were different rules. I'm glad that they made the adjustment for the playoffs, but I'm glad that it's going to be the same all through the year now.
There'll be a reason in the next 3 years for it to change again. Some new injustice will be found, and we'll decide that, we have to fix that. But I don't know what that'll be.
I wonder what they'll make up as the reason because TV is mad because the 1 o'clock games are bleeding into 4:25. I wonder what reason they'll give because it's absolutely going to be that.
Well, the thing
that will be the reason if it ever changes back.
The difference, of course, is in the regular season there's still a clock. So 10 minutes is the whole thing. If the game is tied, it's a tie. And that's when, the Bills run kind of a ball control offense now. And that might mean that they'll finally win an overtime game. Because they'll win the toss. That's maybe saying a lot. but they'll be able to drive 7-8 minutes and score. They always score, right? So 7-8 minutes, and now you're in tough because you only get what's left. You don't get as much time as you need like you would in the playoffs to match or beat them. I think this is where we're going to get into debates about whether you want the ball first, right? That was the Super Bowl with the 49ers.
Right.
Is they took the ball first and were criticized for it. Field goal to a Chiefs touchdown, and that was it.
Right.
So I think we'll have that. But if you don't want the ball first, and it's only 10 minutes, you could get stuck.
Yeah, that's right. You could. The playoffs definitely. You can't run. I know it's like 15-minute quarters, first of all. So the idea of running it all out is probably not really feasible at all. But you couldn't do that. Like if somehow 15 minutes went by, some team had a 15-minute, a 14-minute and 50-second drive to points, you are going to get all the time you want?
Yes.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, basically there's a clock, but it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
In the playoffs.
They'll just start another quarter if they have to.
Right. That's how that works.
Right.
But in the regular season, it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So would you still want the ball first? Getting the ball second means you know what the team that went first did.
There is an advantage to that. Yeah, fourth downs, all of it. Like, it's all there for you. You know what you need. It's like deferring the second half kickoff. Similar anyway.
Yep.
Like, I've got more information. I'm informed on where we are in this game and how we should play it from here. So it's advantageous for me to get the ball first in the second half. I think the same goes for overtime, but the clock part that's a piece.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, maybe. I don't remember having, a long conversation about that. Has anyone had a long conversation about that? Would Sean McDermott be able to tell you right now what he wants to do? He'll publicly probably say, well, it depends on the game.
Who the opponent is, how
yes.
proficient their offense is, that kind of stuff.
Isn't there, sort of a one way is better? I don't have that locked down in my mind yet. I mean, you want to use data. I'm not sitting here with any research on it. How long? What's the average drive length? Kickoffs go to the 35 now, which would shorten, you would think, the opponent's drive. Different things coming into play there.
Yeah, you might want to know how many 10-minute drives or 8-minute drives, whatever. How common is that? How common is it for this opponent to do that? That, I think, would factor into your choice. Like something that you would have, I think, prepared during the week.
What's the number?
One of your assistant coaches is going to tell you, this team's whatever. This team doesn't have a single 8-minute drive all year long. I don't know why I'm picking 8.
But what's the number? 8 minutes leaves 2 minutes, right? So that's tight. 7 leaves 3. Is 3 tight? It's another good one. 8 minutes is long.
It's a long drive. Yeah. It stands out to me when a team has a drive that is that or more.
Sure.
And I feel like it's probably less than 10% of drives.
I think so, easily.
Maybe even lower than that. I don't think it's that common.
Well, this will be one to look forward to. Love the new strategy. Brian Kosil coming up at 6 on the Open. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. Great stat from Warren Sharp, as usual. Last year in the NFL, average yards gained on opening drives. This is not how long the drives took. Average yards gained on opening drives. The Bills come in at 38 yards on average gained on their opening drive. One of the better numbers in the league, like 9th. Tampa Bay was best at 47. Pretty good, right? You're going to score most of the time when you're getting 47 yards on your opening drive.
Yeah, you're in field goal range for sure with that. If you're starting at your 30, even. I'm sure some of those didn't start, further back than that, but still, yeah, that's points.
Pretty good. Buffalo 38, Kansas City 44, Chicago 10.
10?
The Chicago Bears last year averaged 10 yards on their opening drive. Wow.
Let's go, everybody. Hand clap.
Is
good,
that
good start.
terrible or what?
Good start. So let's go.
Who was the team? This is a few years ago. There was some conversation we had about how you start reflects on coaching, preparation for the opponent,
scripted plays.
There's adjustments too. Yeah, scripted plays. Right. First 15 plays, whatever it is. If your team is bad at the beginning, your coaches are the problem. The Chicago Bears averaged 10 yards on their opening drive last year. New England was second worst at 19. Also bad.
Yeah, I feel you're tripping a wire for me that there was some team that once they got beyond that, just their offense just didn't. Scripted plays, aces. The rest of it, not so much. That's kind of the opposite of this that we're talking about here. So with as it pertains to the Bears,
Cleveland 31, Chicago 10 yards. Chicago, get it together. Well, they did flush their coaching staff. Brian Kosil next on the Open and maybe a little bit on the Stanley Cup. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The Bills are off till training camp as they wrapped up mandatory minicamp this morning. General Manager Brandon Beane did speak with the media following practice and confirmed that cornerback Max Hairston tweaked his hamstring, but he should be good to go for camp. And the same holds true for everyone who was injured this week. For more on that, Sal Capaccio does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals between Florida and Edmonton will get going tonight at 8 down in Florida. Our coverage will start a half hour earlier at 7:30, and that coverage is presented by Fiegel Car and Joy Shore Border Attorneys and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. The Oilers do have some changes for tonight. Jeff Skinner and Troy Stecher go into the lineup, while in net, it's going to be Stuart Skinner. Round 1 of the U.S. Open is well and truly underway at Oakmont Country Club. J.J. Spawn, who wrapped up a few hours ago, still leads the way at 4 under. And for more on the U.S. Open, do tune in to a 2-hour Tee to Green show Saturday morning live from Pendleton Creek Golf Club from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And stay tuned, as coming up next, host of Tee to Green, Brian Kosil, will join the show to talk more on Round 1. And it is Throwback Thursday for the Bisons. They host the Clippers just after 6:30, and you can listen to that game over on our sister station, The Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Happy, the ball itself has its own energy, or life force, if you will. Its natural environment is in the home. So why don't you send them home?
It's Mike Schopp.
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
And the Bulldog.
That Happy Gilmore, he's a real crack up, isn't he? I mean, he's a hoot. You know, what was great today, one of his fans mooned me and had Happy written on his ass. Ha on the one cheek, and then, sure enough, PPY right there on the other.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Happy learned how to putt. Uh-oh.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Bulldog and I debating whether Anthony Richardson is worth an 18th round pick in a fantasy draft. Like, I'm asking myself, are we a little too sure that he's just a dead asset at this point? Maybe he doesn't really need shoulder surgery and Jones isn't good. He gets in there, playoff weeks, I don't know. I'm not doing it. I picked someone ridiculous over him this morning, and I laughed to myself, like, I'm this far out on this guy.
You asked this question off the air of me, and what did I say back to you? Who else is there? I could see that coach just being loath to put him back in. And just whatever. And Riley Leonard from Notre Dame is the answer.
Yep.
Notre Dame is close to Indiana.
It is so close to Indiana. Brian Kosil with us on the West Her hotline. It's fairly close to outside of Pittsburgh, where this U.S. Open is being held at Oakmont. Brian, what have you thought today? Seems like it's pretty much mostly what you want from an Open, I would say.
I think so. Yeah, I think overall, I mean, people like seeing the struggles and the carnage and the 4 putts or the chips that go 5 feet in front of them. I think you're getting that, but I haven't heard anything from any player coming off today saying that they thought there was any sort of like unfair or unjust conditions like maybe we've heard over the last 20 years or so. We get those every so often. So I think in terms of where the scores are at, guys are struggling to, the guys that are under par are struggling to stay under par. Kudos to Spawn for playing somehow bogey-free over 18 holes. That's amazing.
Man, Brian, did you get to see much of that? He made everything.
Yeah, all of his putts were amazing. Yeah, it was pretty important. I think 6 for 6 every time he had a chance to like get up and down. He did it, obviously, since he didn't bogey. Yeah, so that's pretty impressive. And Spawn really just kind of come on here over the last year or so. His moment of the season was the playoff at the Players' Championship with Rory. When he had a chance to win in regulation, missed the putt on 18, and then he and Rory played on Monday because they didn't have enough daylight to finish, and then Rory kind of just went off on him right away. But that was Spawn's big moment. So, yeah, for him to be here, I mean, I guess, not a surprise. We see a lot of guys get off to the hot start. And this almost reminds me in terms of the leaderboard of kind of what we had at the PGA. There was I guess what you'd say a handful of lesser names that were leading early on at the PGA Championship, but then all of a sudden going into Sunday, we had all the monster names that were there, including Scheffler and Rahm and, some of the bigger names. So maybe, we'll start to see some of the bigger names shoot up the leaderboard here over the course of, Friday and Saturday.
Well, Spawn, I became a fan of his at that Players. Didn't know anything about him before. I was really sick that weekend and watched pretty much all of it. He put one in the water at the Island Green in the playoff.
Yeah,
and
right. It was it. Yeah,
that was kind of it. But he's the great John McEntee would say, in a very flattering sense, he is one tough bozo. I think this Spawn. So how surprised would you be? 25th in the world ranks. One of the I mentioned earlier, PGA Tour radio announcers, kind of scoffed at him and it's saying, you didn't have this on your bingo card. It's not the dentist from Pittsburgh in first place here.
No, I mean, I think you said it with the world ranking. Like, for a guy to rank 25th to be in the lead after day one, there's nothing surprising about that. And he, as you said, putted really well. So if you can make all those saves that most of the guys are going to maybe split and go 3 out of 6 instead of 6 out of 6.
Yeah.
That's what lands you on top. So can he do it for the next 3 days? I guess I could say he's capable. Would I predict it? Maybe not. Just because we haven't seen enough good longevity stuff from him. But I'm not rooting against it. I think he seems like a nice story and clearly, obviously talented enough here to throw up a great number here on a super hard course.
Right. And you'd love to see him finish second, I know.
Oh, yes.
Right, to one of your 10, right.
To one of my 10.
Yeah. When we talked about this earlier, I heard while he was playing that this is the first time he made it to the U.S. Open without having to go through the qualifier. Like, he's made it before, but he had to go through that. This was just on the year he's having, or last year, or whatever, however that is. Like, his standing was good enough that he was in the field. So
yeah, his world ranking plus the second at the Players, I'm sure, was
right
to give him plenty of world ranking points and FedEx Cup points that he was in for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned being here for the carnage, and I definitely have to cop to that. Like we talked about it earlier, and I said I think this tournament is almost always great, even if it's a mess, because. Not that I enjoy watching people suffer, but, when it's so hard and you see guys that are so talented struggling to just get around the golf course. We had a hole earlier where Justin Thomas drove into the right rough and couldn't get enough club on the ball. He just kind of went across the fairway to the right rough and then did the same thing going back to the right and ended up doubling the hole. I'm always here for that. It doesn't even really matter who the guy is, whether I like him or not. I just think, this tournament stands out in that way, and I guess I'm 100% here for it.
I agree. And I think at least if I'm able to judge how the course is playing after round one, I think it's set up to be perfect. It's playing super hard. There are some holes where, you're seeing guys, putt it the same distance past the hole as they head to the hole after they hit it because it just keeps rolling out, which is, it's fun to watch them frustrate. But I'm also seeing guys also make some birdies, and I guess that's to me the perfect mix. It's okay to have a guy get a double bogey because it's a disastrous hole, but then let there at least be the opportunity that if they hit a great shot, they can get one back. So I think it's exactly what I would want in a U.S. Open. I don't love it when it's almost nearly impossible to make a birdie. I want at least a great shot to be rewarded, and I feel like, at least from what I've seen on here on day one, that the great shots are giving these guys a chance to make birdies. We are seeing, guys that have gone from 2 under to 2 over right back to 1 under in the course of a 9-hole swing there, and that's the best. And even if it ends up being bogeys and pars that do the swinging, at least there's an opportunity for there to be some movement in the leaderboard. And that's really all I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. I mean, but you get to a Sunday, and I'm trying to remember, was this Whistling Straits where they're watering the greens in between groups because by Sunday it's just so baked. It was windy and hot, and it just dried out. So it was already really hard to begin with. But you got guys hitting perfect shots in, and it's just landing, and it's just like the green is a dome effectively. Like, you are just not going to be able to put a ball on there from 150 yards out. You're going to hit it perfectly, and it's just going to bounce and keep going.
Yeah, I think that they're very cognizant of not letting that happen. I know probably we've seen it a handful of times here over maybe the past 25 years or so, but I think they're doing a really, really good job now of setting up these courses to make sure that and let's face it, technology with golf courses too, it's easier to control conditions to get it to what you want it to be so that greens don't get out of hand. I think with how the USGA got criticized there maybe early 2000s for some of those events that you mentioned, I think that it's, I remember being at Shinnecock Hills in 2004.
Oof.
And there was a par 3 there where it got, I think it was the 7th hole.
That's
really
what
out
I'm
of
thinking
hands.
of. It wasn't Whistling Straits. It's this one. Yes.
Goosen.
Yeah. And yes, Goosen beat Mickelson. And it was hosing in between
that's
groups
it.
the whole
Thank you for
time.
having that. Yeah.
So Scheffler is at 3 over through 15. He's been the betting favorite all day, despite not being that even near the lead. He just bogeyed 15. I'm not sure if that's changing. Maybe some reflection on that other of the top players haven't performed better, like DeChambeau, who is also 3 over.
What has changed since we last talked about this, I don't know, an hour and a half ago? Scheffler's still the favorite at plus 550. But at that time, the next closest, I think Spawn was the next closest at plus 1,200. His odds haven't changed at all, but Rahm is now in between them at plus 650.
-1. So what are you seeing with Scheffler?
Well, he just missed a really, really short putt. I think he's playing fine. I don't necessarily think that. I know he's down to 3 now. I mean, let's see, that puts him tied for 54th. I think he's playing fine. I know he's made a couple of bogeys here lately, but early on, I mean, he really could have birdied the first hole too. He missed a putt that I thought was going to go in. He obviously birdied the second then to get themselves going, but I'm thinking that he'll be fine. He looks like he's still pretty in control with his tee game, which ultimately I think is the most important facet of what you need to do. Stay out of trouble off the tee, and then he can use his just perfect approach game that he's had all season. So as long as he's not fighting his driver, which I don't feel like he is so far through the holes that he's played so far, I think he's always going to be a threat. He's still fine. And as you mentioned, there isn't a ton of proven commodities that are sitting there at the top, although you do have a few former U.S. Open champions in Koepka and Spieth and Rahm that are all at -1 right now, that are obviously ahead of him
top
at this
10.
moment.
Yep.
Koepka, they're all top tied for 6th at the moment. Yeah, so there's some. I guess we should give some respect to those gentlemen that have obviously won U.S. Opens before. I never thought Spieth would ever even really win a U.S. Open because of his game. He's just very erratic, and he likes to see the whole golf course, the good and the bad, and that really doesn't set up for a U.S. Open. But I heard him talk about the Grand Slam at the PGA, and he said he felt he was very fortunate to win the U.S. Open, that he kind of says, like, thank God I got that checked box on the Grand Slam chase. And that was the year it was at Chambers Bay, which was a unique course that didn't really have rough. It was all one cut. It just had a lot of bunkers and kind of a lot of that fescue area, but there really wasn't rough like you see at a normal U.S. Open like you do this week. So for Spieth, who I would normally think maybe doesn't fit the realm of a guy that would do well this week, his short game still is excellent, even when he's been up and down. He's been trending better this year. I didn't really think about picking him, and I don't know if I would still predict him to finish in a top 10 spot anyway here at the end, but he's off to a really good start today.
That Chambers Bay had lots of bunkers, no rough, and Dustin Johnson 3-putting from 8 feet on the last hole.
That's right. He
Spieth,
went for the win.
For Spieth to win. Bulldog, you still have the odds up?
I do, yes.
Sung J M. So earlier we saw Sung J M go to the lead, and Bulldog said, I think you were kidding. Like, I'm a big Sung J M guy because I am this week,
Right.
Tell me, are you a Christian child? Ma'am, I am tonight. So Sung J M, I am a big M guy. Brian may even know this. From that fantasy league that Joe did, I went to, again, not to belabor this man, just that's not even the right way to put it, John McEntee. But I went to Lord McEntee.
Two mentions in one segment, and now Lord.
What do you like here? First round pick. He's like, there's no beating that Sung J M this year. Did you see him last week? He's so good. He was 23. I don't think I've seen him win anything, but I picked him at 2 overall on that thing and was probably laughed at. I didn't win.
He's a guy that makes a ton of birdies. You want him on your best ball team or your partner. You want him in your partner for us because he makes a ton of birdies, but he also doesn't seem to ever really hold on to any leads. But
what if I'm someone who makes a ton of birdies, Brian? Or are you just assuming I would just be there for fives across the board?
You're there for you're more the steady hand, Mike. Hey, you're already in for par, and then you tell Sanjay, hey, you go for this putt here. Don't worry if you blow it by. I'm already in for par. Right?
Let it out. Right. What kind of odds would you need? Could he win? I mean, do you think he's someone who is he too all over the place to win a U.S. Open?
Just based upon his career, I would still say no because of the fact that he goes up and down quite a bit. He's not a steady player in that sense that he doesn't usually over 72 holes provide that steadiness that I would have confidence in him. If this is Saturday and he's sitting where he's at, I guess I could argue it, but not on Thursday.
Okay.
He's at plus 1,800, by the way, as of right now.
Not too far from the lead in that respect. I watched some of the Lowry, McIlroy, Rose group today, and there was a lot of negative body language. Lowry was at 6 over, not even long into his round, and he holes out from the fairway for a 2. And his body language, he's on the front 9 of the first round. The body language is like, oh, wow, great.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Wow, just great. That's just when I needed that shot. I mean, he did not seem really, I don't know. He's not somebody that was like the favorite or anything, but all three of those guys, it just seemed like a kind of a bad day all around.
Yeah, and McIlroy, as it went on, definitely got worse. He got off to a good start. I thought, maybe he's gonna keep himself there, but yeah, some inaccuracies. He had 2 chips on a par 3 that lended to a bogey, and I think maybe actually that was a double bogey for him. But he didn't finish well, considering that I didn't give him much of a chance. I know Bulldog yesterday when we were doing the picks, we didn't even talk about McIlroy.
Right.
I didn't like him. I just thought he doesn't seem mentally in a good spot with just how his game, and there's all these questions about the driver, and he doesn't even want to tell people what driver he's hitting for whatever that's worth. Like, are you that not able to tell somebody what brand and driver or model you're using here? Like, it just why would you even play games with that? Like, just answer the question. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just it's like a sponsor question. Like, just answer it. So for him to be erratic like he was last week in Toronto at the Canadian Open and at the PGA, kind of spraying it all over the place, I didn't give him much of a shot.
I think he kind of was even today when his score wasn't reflecting it. At one point when he was still under par, his hitting fairways rate was really bad. Like, I don't remember the number now, but it was maybe like 2 out of 9 or 2 out of 10. Like, it was bad, but he was still, he had his head above water, and then it just eventually caved in on him.
Yeah, those 3 I thought would have actually, you'd think, help each other. They're all very close friends. I know Rory was in like Justin Rose's wedding or vice versa, and Lowry and McIlroy partner up in that Zurich Classic every year. They're very tight. I thought maybe the 3 of them would kind of play off the vibe of the fact that they're all very close and good friends, and maybe turn what is a grinding long day into maybe something that could keep their kind of good vibes up. But it didn't seem as though Lowry really disappointing. I think he finished plus 9, and I thought maybe he would have a chance this week because he plays hard golf courses well. He's had a pretty good year. He played even well last week in Toronto, and he finished second the last time it was here at Oakmont behind DJ. So I thought maybe, he could at least threaten, but not going to be with a plus 9 start for sure.
He had a 4-shot lead in the final round, I think. Or after he was the 54-hole leader in that tournament, Lowry.
That's right.
One more, Brian, and both of you. Is it nuts to bet the Oilers to win the Cup right now? Plus 210.
No.
I agree. Brian, are they dead?
Yeah. They're definitely not dead. But I think if Florida starts up their antics and the Oilers get involved again, like, they just got to play. Just use their speed, use their skill, and just play. Stop messing around with all the garbage that Florida wants to get you caught up in. Kane obviously can't help himself. He loves to get involved in that.
Yeah. Is it nuts to put $5 on an Oilers win, a Seth Jones goal, and a Corey Perry goal?
No, I love it.
Bam.
You go. Yeah. I mean, they were down 3-0 in this series last year, and then won 3 in a row to force Game 7. So, like, I'm not gonna bury them until they're buried.
Oh, that's it.
I think you could definitely overreact to Game 3. I mean, I think Florida is the stronger, the better team. I would, they should be favored having the 2-1 lead. But Edmonton, that's not nutty to me at all. Like, I'm not assuming at all Florida's just got this because it's only 2-1.
Better chance to win a title, Edmonton or Indiana? Got to be Indiana. They're up.
Yeah.
But would they be longer odds than the Oilers?
I'll bet they are.
Okay, maybe.
I'll bet they are because Oak City was such a big favorite.
Maybe.
OKC was minus 700 as a series bet to start. And Indiana, I think, was like plus 5, low 500s to win the series before it started. And that obviously is looking good if you have it right now.
Somebody who doesn't know ball posted those lines, clearly. All right.
Yeah, plus 190 Indy right now to win the series, and Oklahoma City is minus 220. 230.
Still favored. Wow.
Yeah.
So Indiana is shorter than Edmonton. All right. Thank you, Brian. We'll talk tomorrow.
Sounds good. I have to drop a name as well since you did twice. Another Jim. Jim Fitzpatrick from Pendleton Creek says hello.
All right. Good. Thank you. Lord Fitzpatrick.
Yes, he said he played with you when you first got there, so he hopes that you had good times playing with him when he was there. So anyway.
Thank you, Brian.
That was my message. You got it. Okay, guys. Talk tomorrow.
Brian, the host of Tee to Green, we'll have him on tomorrow's show to recap most of round 2. Next, our chat with Sal, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.